Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour right here on A2DRadio.com. I am Matt Satsudi, along with the broken one, Rob Povia.
I'm better than you, and you know it. Best heel of all time already. Go on, proceed.
And
the reference.
Yeah. AEW. No. Anyway, so do not panic in case you were wondering. We are one man down, but he will be here. The Darkwing Brian Daly will be here. He'll be coming in around 10:30-ish time. So don't worry. The Darkwing will be flying in at some point. So today on the Hockey Happy Hour, fam, we are going to talk about the Atlantic Division. We talked about the Central. That was the first division we broke down. No, we are going to talk about the Atlantic Division because we are swinging to the Eastern Conference, and all of that tonight is going to be brought to you by Specialized Physical Therapy, Dr. Paul Vidal. Listen, man, every once in a while you get hurt and you have an injury that you need to fix. Also, on top of that, sometimes you have those, you just really need to relax and you need to just kind of let it go because life is stressing you out, and it happens to everybody. So here's what you do. You go to Dr. Paul Vidal, Cherry Hill, Princeton, Burlington, New Jersey, and you know what? He'll take care of you. Go make an appointment. www.specializedphysicaltherapy.com for Dr. Paul Vidal.
A little shout out to the doc, man. Wished me a happy birthday the other day. I appreciate that love coming from our sponsors. We're one big family here.
Hell yeah, man. Nothing but class over there. All right. So we will be breaking down the Atlantic Division, and the Twitter poll question, I did tie it into the Atlantic Division, and that is, can the Flyers continue to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning? Agree or disagree? And the reason why I threw it out there was because we struggled against them last year. We did manage to get a win on them when the exhibition games got going for, playoff positioning. That was the first win we got on them. Now that they've won the Cup, and now that we've gotten a win on them, can the Flyers continue to beat the blue and white Tampa Bay Lightning? Or will the Lightning become a thorn in the Flyers' side going into next season? So what do you think, Rob?
Well, when I first read this poll question, I was like, when did we start beating them in order to continue to beat them? But now I get it. Now that you alliterated it for me, for the fam here, that they got that win in the round robin. Can they continue? Can they build upon that even after, them going to the Mount Everest of the NHL and sipping from Lord Stanley's Cup? I think they can. I mean, I'll side somewhat to the agree because this team is up and coming. They played them well in that round robin game. I do question the intensity that Tampa Bay, as well as many other teams, brought in that round robin, because the Flyers looked so good in that round robin, and then not so much once the first round started. So, they were minus Stamkos, that he didn't come back until the Cup Finals. You had Hedman playing limited in that game, so. They're going to be a thorn in the side. They're going to be they're not going away anytime soon. But yeah, I do think the Flyers can build off of some success that they've had against them this past year, and it'll really depend on how many times they're actually playing them in the lots of the proposed 2021 season scenarios.
True. And we will address that. We are breaking down the divisions by their normal setup. I know that there's a lot of debate going around whether or not they're going to even have these regular divisions. And pretty much for the most part, we're not, because Canada and the United States, it's pretty much looking like that border is not going to get open. So we may very well just have a Canada division and two U.S. divisions, which, it is what it is,
That's what's going to happen. I mean, not much is going to change in a month's time. What up, Don?
Hey, Don.
To where, there can be safe travels or even travel in general between U.S. and Canada. There is going to, in order to make this year work and not hold up what the league is really targeting, and that's the 21-22 season when you're going to see the new Seattle Kraken come in. They're really aiming for that to start on time, for there to be fans present. Hopefully everyone will be vaccinated by that time. Things will be a little bit better in this world. But in this month's time where they're still targeting January 1st, which, side note, it's not going to happen. It's going to be mid-January at the earliest in order to fit in somewhat of a training camp and maybe 1 or 2 preseason games to get some of the teams that it's been a while since they played, since they've been in shape. Hey, Tommy's making the rounds. What's up?
Yeah, I'm just making rounds. I'm just stopping in. I haven't seen you boys in a while, so I just want to say hello. The best hockey show in the goddamn business. It's well documented, and love you boys. And that's all I got for you. I'm out.
Peace, Tom. Thanks, brother.
That's it. Carter Hart to go. Carter Hart to go. That's all you need to know. Carter Hart to go.
I don't know where I'm feeling the love from more, Tommy or Bryce Harper with the flow. You know what I mean? So, yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
Damn,
buddy.
Buddy. No, we would love to go back to flow days, huh?
Yeah. Those days are gone for me, son. I made the plunge.
Yeah, listen, plunging's good. Maddie, enjoy yourself.
Oh, trust me, it's ending. It's getting there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boys, I'm out. You guys are the best. I just wanted to say what's up.
Peace, brother. Thanks. Always good to see Tom.
Absolutely. I'm glad he jumped in there, too, because I was about to sell the product that I've been using, man, this excellent shaver. But if they ain't paying us, I ain't talking about them right now. What up, Johnny? How you doing, man?
What's up, Johnny? What's going on, man? And,
so just to complete my point real quick, Maddie, that it will work out, you know, where it'll be an all-Canadian team in order to, you know, have this season and keep the ball rolling, keep the, you know, the collective bargain agreement in line to where that could potentially be renegotiated as revenue starts to slowly increase. But the key thing here is that we have been doing these shows per the divisions that we're familiar with. It's just a good way to group them in. But we've been talking about how this can be realigned. We're examining the teams and where they could possibly fall. And I'm going to get into, you know, since I was assigned the 3 Canadian teams, I'm going to talk a little bit how they'll do on both fronts.
Yes. Rob is an honorary Canadian today.
It's Pov today. It's not Pov. It's Pov.
It's Pov.
Like Chris Pronger's Canadian pronunciation.
And we got Raska chiming in. What's up, boys? Let's go, Coyotes and Ducks.
Yes,
What's
sir.
up, David? And Don chiming in. Oh, boy. The good old Atlantic Division. Yeah. Funny enough.
It's getting better. It's gonna get better. I mean, the Metro sort of dominated things last year. You know, if it does fall like that in the typical fashion, it's gonna be interesting for wild card seeding.
Yeah, it definitely will be. We got Rich chiming in. Sup, fam? Have a great show. What's up, Ritz? You catch Ritz on In This Very Ring, which goes off on Saturdays. And for all the wrestling fans out there, he also does like to jump in with me and Chrome on Lazy Booking. So if you want to catch him, that's where you can. And Tom, obviously, who jumped on in. Catch him, agree, disagree. You can catch him on AM and the PM and the Fix all fused together. You can catch him pretty much anywhere. Tom is everywhere on HUDradio.com. Question is, where isn't Tom? That's the real question. That's the real poll question today. Let's see here. We got Prism chiming in. What's up, my guys? I didn't see the notification. I was over there on the football show waiting for you bad mofos. Well, it happens, man. It's when you run shows one right after the other, these kind of things can happen. And don't worry, Brian will be here in a little bit. And Tom was chiming in, my boys. And we got Jake Friel chiming in. What's up, fellas? Definitely agree to the poll. So he 110% believes the Flyers can still get some big wins on the Tampa Bay Lightning moving forward. And Chuck's chiming in. What's up, Chucks? How's it going, man?
Yo. What's up, boys? Appreciate the support every show together. We sort of, hopefully we can take away the steam from the Birds of the Feather group on over on the Periscope. But, you know, that's how we do. We like to share.
Sharing is caring, right? All right, so time to take a look at the Atlantic Division. And, well, it's an intriguing one. In the past, the Atlantic Division really has been a battle of only 3 teams, and it's been Toronto, Boston, and Tampa Bay. Unfortunately for teams like Montreal, they started to decline a little bit. However, though, it seems like they've injected enough youth to start going back up in the right direction. So more of a retool than a hard restart for them. Meanwhile, you had Ottawa, who fell right the hell apart after they lost that Eastern Conference Finals. And to this day, Kunitz has still not served a single day of that fucking sentence he deserves for murdering that franchise. And at the same token, you also have the dwiddling of the thumbs of the Florida Panthers with no real idea of what direction they're going in. So it's been a very top-heavy division, to say the least, over these last few seasons. So hopefully we might see a little change in that moving forward when we get the Atlantic Division back, that is.
Yeah, certainly. There will be more of a balance there, and certainly with the teams, there's still going to be a lot of these same matchups as they break the divisions down regionally. So, I do see some teams, some lower brow teams in the Atlantic making some noise. We'll get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Prism saying this feels like Tampa's last run with the full squad. They can't afford everyone forever, and that is true. They've got a lot of high-priced players, and a lot of them, they do demand high salaries at the end of the day. So that's a big one right there. Meanwhile, Anthony wants me to burn the Caps jersey. No, I'm not burning the Caps jersey because that cost me a lot of money. Also, it's a Yager jersey, so absolutely not. Anyway, that's more of an FU to the Penguins fans of the world because I won't get a Penguins jersey of Yager. I'll go get a Capitals one before I get one of a Penguins one. Anyway, and Frank saying, hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. Just wanted to drop it and say, hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. Well, thanks, Frank. And thank you for totally not setting up the whole thing for us tonight. Anyway.
That was like deja vu all over again.
Yeah, totally. And Don saying we just rebuild and don't mind us. Yeah, that's true. And I've got the Red Wings here. I'll be breaking them down as well. So I think it's time we get into this. And let's see. Who wants to start this off? Rob, you want to go or do you want me to go?
I am excited to talk about a team that I've just perennially pissed on, and that's the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'll go first.
All right, then.
But believe it or not, this may not be the sourpove edition of my review of the Toronto Maple Leafs because I see some promise here. I see them building upon what was, a tightly contested qualifying round matchup against the Blue Jackets, but one that they did lose 3-2 after finishing with a pretty good regular season record of 36, 25, and 9, which was good for 81 points in 70 games played and resulting in the number 8 seed in the 24-team tournament. I'm a big Sheldon Keefe fan. When they let Babcock go, this was a good hire. A lot of people thought they were going to go in a different direction, but he took over for him after leading the AHL affiliate, the Toronto Marlies, to their franchise's first Calder Cup in 2018. And he amassed, get this, Maddie, 199 wins as an American Hockey League head coach. So, dude's a winner.
He is. He definitely is. And Malaki Morton chiming in. I think the Flyers are the best and coolest team in hockey. Thanks, Malaki, and you're damn right. You're damn right the Flyers are the coolest team here.
I like the taste, for sure. But he's been helped along by a guy that's, old friend, a guy that got experience here in Philadelphia, speaking of which, Dave Hackstall, who's in his second year as his assistant head coach. But they brought in two real big hockey guys in Manny Malhotra and Paul McLean. This is going to be their first year as assistant coaches. So I really like this coaching group here. And I just, what Keefe started to bring to this team and we saw on the ice was just one of the most exciting offensive systems in hockey. You see it with the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that's the total hockey package. Every player is involved in the offense. Speed and teamwork are just essential. And the Leafs had great success with this new system when Keefe took over for Babcock. So, Maddie, what it does is, in case you're not familiar, it involves positional switches on zone exits as well as a high forward to create chances and extend that zone time. I think it really suits their young forwards as they start to enter their prime, as well as the vets they brought in. I'm going to get into those players in a moment. But these vets, just to umbrella them, they're really defensively responsible. So they'll help with this system in terms of when they got to make that switch, when they got to take that point role when a defenseman creeps in. And you're going to start to see this team start to support each other. And that's what you didn't see a lot when you brought the young Austin Matthews into the league. You know, the Mitch Marners, the William Nylanders, you know, good individual players, but you started to see that team effort. I think that's only going to get intensified this season.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, Toronto, it'll be an interesting season for them. I mean, this is a team that, you know, usually you immediately just give third place to, and that's pretty much the end of the story. And they've been first round outs ever since they've been getting into the postseason. They haven't sniffed the semis. They lost to the Caps first time around. Fair, okay, young up and coming team. That's going to happen. Lost twice in 7-game matchups to the Boston Bruins. And when you're property of the Boston Bruins, that's not a good thing. So Toronto needs to they need to cowboy up here, and they need to get something big happening this season. If they can get to the semifinals, I would consider that a massive step in the right direction for them, because they need to stop getting first round out. They have to. Or in other words, what's the point? You're just repeating over and over and over again, and you can't seem to beat the teams that seem to be ahead of you, and you should be better, or at least on the same level as them. So that's been the big issue with Toronto.
Oh, 100%. Boston Bruins consistently their nemesis, but put a thumbtack in that. As we read off what Prism's got.
Absolutely. If Prism saying any chance Detroit Annie's up for Mike Hoffman, they seem like they still have the cap space and the need for quality players. Not taking shots at the Red Wings this time, Don.
I see it happen. The rumors have been out there, man. He's still floating out there. You know, so, you know, you're going to start to see free agency start to intensify, certainly over this last month, you know.
True. I mean, it's interesting, and we'll talk about the Panthers, too, since that's the team he did leave. I drew them, so I get to talk about them. Yay. And it'll be really interesting to see where he goes to. There are several other teams that are interested in Hoffman, but where the Red Wings are at right now, let's just say that there's a reason why they're picking up some of the players they're picking up. There's a good theory running around. And by the way, Morton, I apologize that I pronounced your name wrong. So sorry about that. He also said, but the Flyers are the best still, and Toronto sucks. So,
yeah, at 31 years of age, though, I mean, it certainly doesn't fit the motif of the Red Wings as they're going real young with their total rebuild. That's the only counter argument to it. But in the meantime, you still need some guys that can put the biscuit in the basket, and that's what Mike Hoffman does.
That's true. That is true. Anthony is saying, when does the season start? We're starting to think more middle January right now. There hasn't been any real talks of January 1st, you know, being officially announced yet, and we're getting ever so creepingly closer to that January 1st date, and there hasn't been any acknowledgement over it. So, I mean,
like Bettman's more concerned with 21-22 than he is with this season. He just wants to make sure that it gets off. He's still saying January 1, Anthony, but you're going to need time for training camp for at least a preseason game or two. So yeah, mid-January. I mean, maybe even as late as towards the beginning of February.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get this season off. Hopefully real soon.
Yeah, I mean, they don't want to push it too far because then, again, it starts to have that snowball effect, just like this last season had on this season. So, you know, that's a primary focus. But when they do start getting up and running, you're going to see John Tavares continue to be the captain of this team. Getting him from the Islanders, you know, you could say what you want about the manner in which Tavares left the island, but he's been a good captain. He's been that leader they're missing, rounding up like the young pups and Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and Morgan Riley, all being alternate captains and lifelong Maple Leafs. I mean, I mentioned William Nylander before, but you know, Zach Hyman, you can't forget about him. He's a lifer here with the Leafs, another part of the homegrown cooking that they got up there in Toronto. They got Alexander Kerfoot from Colorado, who's been a good addition, and certainly where would they be at without Freddie Anderson, who's going to be a free agent after this season. So this is definitely, if you want a standout performance from your goaltender, the struggle is real. But I'm gonna have such good news for you. I almost want to get to it now, but I gotta set it up, Joe. I gotta set it up for you.
Paint the picture.
Yeah, I gotta paint the picture before I drop the predictions down. But in a contract year, this dude's gonna stand on his head, and he's gonna continue upon good, steadfast goaltending for this team to help them take the next step. They brought in TJ Brody. We talked about it. They brought in, Vespe's favorite player, Joe Thornton, to help with this team. Add some veteran leadership, to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Wayne Simmons is now a Toronto Maple Leaf. He can help, just be a character guy to pair with the young talent. I mean, they brought in Zach Bogosian and Jimmy Vesey to do the same thing, and they brought back Michael Hutchinson, who sort of returned from quote unquote loan to Colorado. To back up Freddie there. So, they've been very active. They're making this move. They lost Kasperi Kapanen. Who's been a Leaf up until now. Tyson Barrie and Cody Ceci and Kyle Clifford also took a walk. But other than that, man, they got no pending free agents. They're ready to roll, man. They're absolutely ready to roll. I think this team, so chock filled with this homegrown talent, is it finally time for the Leafs to take that next step? I think so. And I think they're going to make some noise no matter how the divisions shape out, whether it be an all-Canadian division or the Atlantic division. They can compete against the Canadian teams and in the Atlantic. Like I said before, it's going to come down to goaltending. Can Freddie maintain that 285 goals against, that 909 save percentage? I think, yes, he's going to improve upon that in the contract year. Can Hutchinson step in and provide and be an adequate backup? We saw it before. We saw it in Colorado. But just in case, they also picked up Jack Campbell. Can he rediscover his prospect pedigree and build off his 2.63 goals against and 915 save percentage in his 6 regular season games with the Leafs? Man, I'm no fortune teller, but in my opinion, I think the answer is yes to all these questions, and this is going to be a dangerous team in 2021. I think they can finish as high as second in the Atlantic, ahead of the Boston Bruins.
Gotcha. All right.
That makes up for all the fucking shit talk that I've done on the Maple Leafs, because I looked at this analytically. Maddie, how can you disagree with me? Look at all those acquisitions to build upon the young talent.
Well, from what I'm seeing is, from what we're getting, there's muscle that was added, which is definitely helpful. Obviously, they did get Jake Muzzin, which was helpful as well, that they got from the Los Angeles Kings last year. There was a lot of additions that Toronto did get that did add something to the team. Toronto has always been a capable squad. It's just that it's the process of actually doing it on the ice. That's the only thing that's been holding them back, is delivering the goods on a Game 7. That's the only thing that's held them back. And hell, delivering the goods on a Game 5 after they won in OT to set up a Game 5. I thought Toronto had a real shot of going to the first round. And it's like, okay, this is a big step for them. They can beat Columbus and move on to the out of the qualifiers and into the first round. Who knows what would have happened then? But the thing is, that's a huge step in the right direction for them. But shit happened. But the point is, though, they've always been a capable team. It's just, when the chips are down, getting that big W and moving forward. That's the only thing that's been holding them back. Only thing.
Right. And say what you want about Joe Thornton. He's certainly long in the tooth. The production has gone down, but he's a winner. He's gone and win. And it's a shame if the Atlantic doesn't play this year, because how great would it be, Joe Thornton donning the Maple Leaf sweater, battling his former team, the Boston Bruins, for, a repeated amount of games, and being a thorn in their side. I really think that when you add players of this ilk, Bogosian's a great addition. TJ Brody, also from Calgary Flames, great addition, right? I think, in my opinion, here's where you're going to start to see this team actually come through in the clutch, because these players have.
Yeah. True. You're right. You're right. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be real interesting to see with Toronto. This is a big year for them. This is a
Right.
chance for them to take a step in the right direction. Even if we get a weird makeup division of some kind where it's all Canadian, that might even serve them better because you
Right.
have to – because then you have Toronto in the same division. If you're doing an East Canada division or you're just doing all Canada, then what you would have is you would have Edmonton, Vancouver, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Calgary, and – yeah, that's it. That's the 6 Canadian teams right there.
One
Oh,
more?
and Vancouver, 7. My
No,
bad.
you said Vancouver already.
Well, one am I missing? I think
Everybody
I'm missing.
forgets about Winnipeg.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Sorry.
Who cares?
Sorry,
Fuck them.
guys.
JETS. But the best thing that I like about this Maple Leafs team, looking into them a little bit, I wasn't privy to this. Their GM, Kyle Dubas, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, he's in his 3rd year, Maddie, and he's only 35 years old, which means he was 32 when he was hired to do this job. Man, I wish I could see 32 again, man. But he was the 2nd youngest GM at the time of the hire, and he's just the fresh face and vision that this team needed once, Lou Lamoriello departed. You know what I mean? No disrespect to Lou. He's put together some winning organizations, but this is new age, looking into the analytics of things, like the fresh perspectives and the young blood, right? This is why I'm excited about this team. And this is why, despite my disdain for Austin Matthews, he really impressed me in that Columbus series in terms of the type of team player that he can be. I didn't think he had it in him. And I think that further develops from the rearing of, the head coach, from this great assistant coaching staff, from the veterans on this team, and it all comes down through the GM. So, Toronto fans, this might be the year to be excited.
So Frank was saying, who dost summoned me, and he also wound up going on to say, and I heard Joe Thornton, ew. Oh, man.
Joe Thornton haunts your dreams.
Yeah. Prism, by the way, he also had said that the Joe Thornton jersey for Toronto is just worth buying. So, it is worth buying. You are right. Just to have that Joe Thornton jersey and to say that he was on your team. But, here's the thing, though, and for Joseph, basically being the Toronto fan here, man, your Toronto team is, like I said before, it's a very capable team. Has it been a shitty ending to your playoff runs over the last few seasons? Yeah. Trust me, man. As Flyers fans, we know what it's like to have torturous runs in the postseason and just get ever so close, and then it's all gone. Believe me, 2010 still haunts my nightmares. It really, really does, as I'm sure it haunts yours, Rob, and 97 too, probably. So it's not. We know the pain, man. We know the pain. Don't give up on your team. Don't give up, man. There's still so much with that team. They still got so much going for them. And the thing is that there's a lot of young talent there too. That's the other thing. When you have young talent, you can fuck up a few times and make up time lost. It's when you have an older team, an aging team, and we know something about that. When you keep losing, inevitably the collapse happened, and it happened for us in 2007. And we paid the price for it, and we had to rebuild the team, and then we went to mediocrity.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a tough thing to get yourself into. So, don't worry. Things will change. It just takes time. That's what it is,
Right. And, guys like Morgan Riley on the blue line, like I said, the aforementioned Marner, Matthews, and Nylander, these guys are hitting their prime right now, man. The age 23 through 26 seasons, that's when you start to see, these are all guys that I'm going to be targeting in fantasy hockey. Certainly depending on how the lines shape out, because you want to, I might go for another Toronto player, maybe just because he's playing with Matthews, over say Nylander, will probably be on the second line would be my guesstimation, because he plays center ice too. So, it's they're gonna be an exciting team to see. Can they make a run at it? Can they go from 0 to hero? It's distinctly possible.
Yeah, it's true. The possibility's there. So Time will tell with Toronto. They're still
And-
young, and they're still moving in the right direction.
The current Stanley Cup champs were beat by the Columbus Blue Jackets in the previous year. So that bodes well for Toronto's chances too.
Oh, man. I feel bad for this one from Prism. He's saying the Flyers will win the Cup within the next 5 years. Boy, I hope so, man. I hope so. That would be so great. Oh, man. And then he goes on to say they just need to trade Patrick and pick and a pick for Laine. Unfortunately, I don't think that Laine deal is going to happen now since, it looks like Winnipeg's doubling down with him.
They may be more concerned with the blue line. Unfortunately, there's just not much out there at this point. But the loss of Niskanen is going to be felt on this team. You saw how the Caps missed Niskanen in this previous season. Well, the Flyers are going to be feeling that this year.
Yeah. So we have that for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Moving forward, team with a chance, moving in the right direction, still young, tons of talent. Is the Atlantic Division getting a little tougher? Yes, but that may wind up serving you even better purpose because it may make you tougher at the end of the day. And who knows? Maybe you'll wind up outlasting. And also keep this in mind as well. Tampa can't stay around forever with the team they had. Prism brought up a good point. They can't afford all those great players forever. And Boston can't last forever either. As good as Boston is right now, and as young players as they have, how long does Boston have of that rotation before they officially drum up and run out of prospects? Possibilities there. You can only do tradings for so long before that comes back to haunt you. All right. So, with that, that's the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we will shift gears. And now I will start up with a team that I've been a little tough on. Just to give you a definition of the three teams that I picked, I have the Florida Panthers, I have the Detroit Red Wings, and I drew the Buffalo Sabres. Of course I fucking drew the Buffalo Sabres. Of course I fucking did. But anyway, I'm not going to start with the Sabres. I will leave them for last. No, I'm leaving the best for last, damn it. I'm going to start with the Panthers, but I have shat on the Panthers in the past, and I have done that for multiple reasons and for valid reasons. This is a team that has spun its wheels for so long and has been the very definition of mediocre, but not the good kind of mediocre. The kind of mediocre where, we made it into the playoffs and maybe we can do something. No, they're actually the worst of the mediocre, where we're so bad that we can't even make the postseason, but we're not bad enough to be dead last in the division and picking number one in the draft every year. That's standings hell right there. You never want to be in that spot. But the Panthers have been there for a while now. So much so that they fired their GM because they were getting sick and tired of his shit. And they brought in Bill Zito. Now that Bill Zito is in charge, one thing that he had to do was he had a lot of decisions to make because there were players that were pending free agents. They also had a few head-scratching decisions to make in terms of what's the team going to look like moving into the next couple of seasons. The owner also wanted to cut salaries. So that's not a good thing to walk into when you're a GM and the owner tells you, by the way, I want salaries cut. Okay? Do you want to win a cup or do you just want to shit on everybody? Because that's exactly what you're doing right now. You don't have fans as it is. But anyway, let's see here. Mike Hoffman was a big, interesting decision. They chose not to re-sign him, but the major reason why I think they did that was due to his age. I think that's the major reason why Mike Hoffman did not wind up getting re-signed. Along with that, Evgeny Dadonov, he signed with Ottawa, so he's not around anymore. They did give up, and this is the issue that really hurt Florida. Besides goaltending, which was lackluster, the defense gave up the sixth most shots during the regular season.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care who you got on the team. You're giving up the sixth most shot and you're just out of the top five. You're fucked. You're not doing shit. Simple as that. They traded away Mike Matheson to the Pittsburgh Penguins for Patrick Hornquist. That did happen as well. And, well, there's a few other points that I've been taking out from the research here. they need to fix their farm system. And the reason why they have to is because they've had problems developing young talent. They have talent on this team, and they have such youth in it, but something's not clicking. Something's missing from this squad. Consistency is not there. The defense is bad. Goaltending has been lackluster. Something needs to get fixed on the developmental side of things, and it needs to get fixed now. And by the way, swooping in, none other than the Darkwing, Brian Daly.
Oh, boy.
Pushing that hockey gear, eh?
Dude. It wasn't even that job. I would have
Really?
been home 3 hours ago.
Oh,
Restaurant
Yeah.
gig, man. Restaurant gig.
ooh.
You're like you remind me of that Jamaican skit from In Living Color for the older folk that will go with me. One job. I got 13 jobs.
I swear to God, every time I got something to do, it's just a busy night. I just can't. I can't.
Oh.
What's
So,
up, boys?
what's up, Bri? So to catch you up, we went over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Currently, I'm going through the Florida Panthers right now. Basically, went through that fact they hired a new GM. They traded away Mike Matheson. Defense gave up the 6th most shots during the regular season. They didn't re-sign Hoffman or Dadonov. And kind of having an issue with their farm system since they seem to have a problem struggling to develop young talent. However, one thing I'm going to point out here is there is some young depth talent that's sitting in there. There's Owen Tippett, Gregory Denisenko, Chase Prisky, and Brady Keeper. They are all talent to look out for if you are a Florida fan. If you are, then you have my sympathies. But those are some young players to look out for. Now, here is the other. They also signed Mackenzie Weegar, another young player that has a lot of upside on that 3-year deal. He had an issue with arbitration. Eventually, that deal kicked in because of arbitration. They lost Mark Pysyk to the Dallas Stars, who signed on a 1-year deal. And they also, just wanted to throw that out there just because I saw it, they signed Rocco Gudis to a 3-year deal, which was very intriguing and head-scratching to me, but that's just me personally. And they also signed Vinny Hinostroza from the Phoenix Coyotes to a 1-year prove-it deal for them. So the main issue that I have with Florida here is they really need to find an identity, which has been what their biggest issue has been. Like, this is a team that they show some talent and some flair for offense, and then they're so inconsistent that they can't really do anything with it. Their defense has been really just terrible. Bobrovsky had a bad season. It's just not been a real fun ride for the Florida Panthers. They did make the postseason, but they really made it because of the fact that they were included in that enlarged bracket, and they didn't get through their qualifier because the Islanders smothered the shit out of them. But to be fair, the Islanders smothered the shit out of everyone, and they almost did it to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thank God they did not, because that would have sucked to see a team that eliminated us go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Anyway, point being is that the Panthers' lackluster year, really the shame of it is it's not a shocker. But the key players to look out for if they are going to have a successful year is going to be Keith Yandel, Anton Strawman, Aaron Ekblad, Patrick Hornquist, of course, Mackenzie Weegar, Alexander Barkov, Brian Boyle, Vinny Hinostroza, Jonathan Huberdeau, Alexander Wenberg, Eric Howla, and, of course, Sergei Bobrovsky. Those are the key players for the Florida Panthers if they are going to have a very good, productive year. It's just it seems like all the talent's here. It's not like talent isn't here in Florida. It's just what's going on. And, of course, they do have Joe Quenneville as coach, but it's like something's off here. And the defense is one of the bigger contributors to it. Offense is inconsistent. It's just something's got to give here. They got to fix it, and they got to get it going.
All right. So, I mean, Florida Panthers they're always been like that weird organization that, you know, despite the roster they have, they never seem to be a true contender, especially since '96.
Pretty much, yeah.
put the talent out there. I mean, you pretty much read off the bulk of the roster. It's just kind of weird how that works. They got the talent. They lost a key piece in Evgeny Dadonov, who we'll talk about a little later on down the road. Just bizarre. You got a good goaltender. Defense needs to tighten up a bit. I think that was a huge issue for them, especially earlier on in the year, but found their way a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the offense just completely fell off. So, they gotta figure out a way, and with Coach Q, he'll figure it out. To figure out to get both ends of the game on the same page, and it's been tough. I don't get it. I really don't. They got a solid squad. They got a team that could fight for a playoff spot. They just can't seem to figure it out.
No, it's been rough for them over the last few years. But we got Pete chiming in saying, "Yo, fam, what's up, Pete?"
What up, Pete?
And let's see here. Any other comments that we got going on down here? We got Greg chiming in. What's up, fellas? Please, 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 we need hockey.
We'll have it. They're deciding on who's going to get the outdoor games this year. It's between the Bruins, the Ducks, the Kings, and one other team that I'm blanking on right now. But they got their teams lined up. They just got to figure out who's going to get the home teams or the home game. Sorry.
Gotcha. And let's see here. Joseph saying that the Bruins are going to be worse next year. So that's an interesting one to throw out there. Bri will be covering the Boston Bruins as we move along.
Well, since Rob went already and you went,
yep,
we'll cover Boston next.
Yep. Let me just catch up a quick second here with some of these other comments. Greg was also saying, I agree to the poll being that he believes that the Flyers will continue to beat the Boston Bruins. Prism was saying that Buffalo is going to be nice this year. God, I hope not.
You hear it all the time, and it never happens. They always start off hot, and then they fall off.
Don saying, I love Matt's hate for the Buffalo Sabres. Dude, those early 2000s, man, they made me hate the Sabres for fucking forever because of that. Fuck them and what they did to the Flyers in the early 2000s. Anyway. Yes,
real quick, we got Uncle Sweeps chiming in, going, "What's up, boys? Sweep watching, let's go." And I'll take 3 months of pond hockey. Fuck it, Mystery Alaska type.
Let's go, Sweeps. That's what I'm talking about.
And previously, comment on me. He goes, "Fresh cut, Walter Wright. Let's go." Yeah, I was getting reports that I was blinding some airplanes upstairs, so I threw on the Scully.
Listen, I hate to say it, I'm not that far behind you, dude. I'm gonna be doing it soon too.
I freaking love it, man. It's so liberating. It really is.
I don't have the head shape. I don't feel like it's all thin. Like, look at that right there.
No, you got it.
Grass up there anymore.
Hey, you don't got it. You don't know until you try it. But I think you do. I
gotta grow a pair and just fucking do it.
And Brian, I'll put you this way. I liken it, not to the monumentalness, but I liken it to the burning of the bra. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. It's just nice not having to worry about it. You shave the head and let's go.
All right.
So liberating.
All
I've
right.
been waiting for years. I've been purposely wearing hats so it would fall out quicker.
I guess that's what I'm doing, but
because I just dreamed that I want to go out on Halloween one night. I'm going to wear the 2 gold hoop earrings. I'm going to wear a brown T-shirt, not a white T-shirt. And I'm just going to tell ladies that I'm Mr. Clean's cousin, Mr. Dirty.
Oh.
How you doing?
The monk.
I will do none of that, but it sounded cool. Sorry, the monk.
Oh, all right.
I'm the furthest thing from a monk. They're all like peaceful and all that inside. I'm just put it this way. I'm Irish and I got that fire inside of me. I got a bad temper. It's bad.
Oh, speaking of the Irish, you know what place has a lot of Irish culture in it?
Ireland.
No, Boston. So, with that segue, the Boston Bruins. Bri, take it away.
I walked right into that. I gotta learn better. I really do. Boston Bruins. Bit of a disappointing team last year. Went up in the round robin tournament last year, finishing fourth. I believe they went winless through the entire round robin tournament. And to say the least, it was a very lackluster performance from them. They have a good team. A lot of big pieces in that on that roster. Some of these names I'm going to put out there, I know one of them's gone, but just go with me on it. Going into last year, you had Torrey Krug and Patrice Bergeron, Zdeno Chara. You had Jacob DeBrusk, Pasta, who was out or hurt or something for a few games. But you go into the offseason, you got to worry about Torrey Krug. So he's going to be a free agent. You're not sure if he's going to come back. You got to make a push for him, right? If you're the Boston Bruins.
Yeah.
I would think they would.
You would think they would, right? No. He winds up signing a contract in St. Louis, leaving a big gaping hole in that defense. So what do? They go out and re-sign Kevin Millar, or Kevin Miller. Sorry, not Kevin Millar. Kevin Millar is a baseball player. What's up, Damien?
Intentional talk going on the
Damien.
ice.
First of all, I love intentional talk. Great show. Love Kevin Millar, but we're talking Kevin Miller. Signed him back. He'll probably take one of the bottom 6 spots on the roster. They also go out and sign Craig Smith, which I think is a great move. He's going to provide a third line depth for this roster. Who Craig Smith is one of those guys that absolutely wins faceoffs. So he'll get you about 10 to 15 goals a year. He'll probably average around 40 to 50 points a year. Solid player. He's going to add a lot of depth. One of the big moves that they needed to make sure they got done, and that's bringing back Jake DeBrusk. Signed him and to a brand new contract, and bringing back Yaroslav Halak also to be the backup behind Tuukka Rask, who is starting to show a little bit of age, but at the same time, he's still playing at an elite level, which is great for him. He's getting older, a little longer in the tooth there, Rob, to take one of your expressions. You got to be able to have a backup in this league, and to be able to bring Halak back is huge for the Boston Bruins, especially when you got to worry about your contending window closing. A lot of the moves they did wind up making were a lot of minor moves to keep certain guys in the system, guys that we are not really sure how big a part of the system they are. DB? I think so. January 1st is looking a little unrealistic now. So I'm going to say probably around mid-January. I haven't heard anything negative about what's been going on out there. So that's a huge plus. But I think we're looking at about mid-January. January 1st, I don't think is going to be the date from here. I think we're going to go about 48 games. That's just my prediction.
We better have a season, or I really would want to see freaking Gary Bettman hung from like the tallest bridge in any city in the entire world. The tallest tower. Hang his ass from there, please. God, hate him. Anyway, moving on. Sorry.
So after some of these moves have been made, Craig Smith, Kevin Miller, Jake DeBrusk, Yero Halak, Boston Bruins are going into this season, according to Cap Friendly, about just shy of $3 million in their cap. So not a lot of room to sign anybody else, but don't be surprised if they're in playoff position that they're going to make some moves and try and free up some cap space. Who they trade? Not exactly sure. The free agents might actually benefit them. Who knows? We got to see what the trade. See if the moves they made are good. Bear down. What's going on, brother? So Boston seems to be sticking with the recipe that worked for them last year to get them to the playoffs and to be essentially the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. So they're going to stick pretty much with the roster they had last year. A couple changes, like I said, Torrey Krug's out. Probably going to see Kevin Miller a lot more. And then the usual suspects back there on the blue line. Usual suspects in net, Halak and Rask. And then you pretty much have Craig Smith now, Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron. Sorry, I got a burp sitting in the middle of my chest. I'm trying to discreetly take care of that. And it's just kind of is what it is. They don't be surprised if they're not in a position to potentially be sellers and move some pieces. Maybe a Brad Marchand. Maybe I don't see Patrice Bergeron going anywhere. I don't see Pasta going anywhere. But there's some other pieces that they might be able to send somewhere. DeBrusque, I think, is going to be a guy they're going to count on. Other than that, I pretty much feel like that sums up the Boston Bruins. Is they're a team that with the window closing and where they are come the trade deadline, it's going to determine what they do. I think it could really go either way. I still think they're a contender, but I mean they really gotta rely on the goaltending and the back end specifically this year. Now that Torrey Krug is gone, Charlie McAvoy is going to need to be that guy. He's going to need to step up and be the leader on that defense. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I mean, what you would think that they would have done more to keep Krug in town. But I mean, St. Louis obviously had a hole to fill with Pietrangelo wanting to leave and going out to Vegas. So, they made an offer he couldn't refuse, but they're going to feel that loss. And you're going to need other players to step up on the blue line. That's for certain.
Yeah, it's a huge loss. It's a huge loss. And St. Louis wanted Pietrangelo back. Pietrangelo wanted to stay in St. Louis, but he had what he wanted as far as contract goes. St. Louis didn't want to give it to him, and they essentially gave the contract they wanted to give to Alex Pietrangelo. They gave to Torrey Krug, and Torrey Krug was like, "I'll see you later, Boston."
Deuces. Meanwhile, to answer DB's question, yes, Char will just melt into his clothes like Obi-Wan and go into the Force. That's just how it works when you get that old.
But the clothes that are left behind, man, are going to weigh about 25, 30 pounds. That's a lot of man.
Yeah.
Then you need like 3 or 4 guys just to get that off the ice.
Yeah.
Now, here's something interesting from DB. And he said, I feel like Krug didn't want to go to the Blues. Do you guys think that?
I mean, I don't think he wanted to leave Boston, but Boston didn't want to give him the contract that he wanted. St. Louis did. It comes down to money sometimes.
Precisely.
It's the same. Pietrangelo didn't want to go to Vegas. He wanted to stay in St. Louis, but they couldn't come to terms on a deal, and they signed Torrey Krug before they got the deal done. So,
I think he did want to go elsewhere a little bit. He'd run his course in St. Louis. I don't know. That's just a gut feeling.
I mean, he could be right. I know he wanted to stay in St. Louis. He would have been more than willing to re-sign there. He's got the C there. He's going to go to Vegas. He's not going to be wearing a C there. Yeah. That's not going to be his. It's going to be somebody else's. I think. Do they have a guy? Does anybody wear the C in Vegas?
Yeah. I thought it'd be why am I blanking on his name right now?
Pacioretty?
Yeah, I was thinking either Pacioretty or oh my God, their goal scorer.
William Karlsson?
Yeah, exactly. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to.
All right, then.
I don't know for sure.
So, let's see here. So, while Rob looks that up, one thing that Prism had said earlier, he's like, we better have a season because college hockey can only hold me over for so long.
Depends.
Tap the vein.
It depends on what conference you're watching. The Big Ten's usually pretty good. Big Ten's good.
Besides college hockey, though, there is some hockey that is going to get started up this month, actually, and it is the World Juniors. That is happening. So, and that actually wouldn't be a bad idea if you're a Flyers fan because there's a few Flyers prospects like Cam York, Bobby Brink, they were invited to compete for a spot at camp in the World Juniors. So we might see them show up in the World Juniors. So
Yeah, we'll
keep
see. I'm not
eyes on
sold
that.
that that's actually going to happen right now.
Yeah.
There's been quite a couple.
You're 100... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brian.
No, all right. I was to say there's been a couple guys that have been tested positive. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm not, like I said, I'm not banking that World Juniors is actually going to happen right now. We'll see, though. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Be a shame. Be a shame for the kids in the development. You know, they look forward to it. But you're right, Brian. They're actually akin to one of the teams that I cover here for the Atlantic. They've been rocking out with a vacant captaincy since the 2017-18 season, and instead they go with four alternates: Derek Englund, Max Pacioretty, Riley Smith, and Mark Stone.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
I can't argue that any of those guys don't deserve it.
So wait a minute. So that means that they haven't had a captain since their inaugural season. This is 2017-18.
Yeah.
Who was their captain in the inaugural season?
Nobody. I guess they I thought this all sounds familiar too. I apologize for not being on top of this, but that's how they were coming into the league. They're like, and you see a couple teams. They're not the only one. Matter of fact, the Ottawa Senators have been vacant for a captain, which I'll get into later in the show. That's more on a different sort of reality than you have plenty of people that could be a captain, and maybe you bring in Pietrangelo and he gets his beak wet for a season, and do they actually finally go with the captain and a guy that's been doing it in the league for a while? That might have been part of the allure too. I don't know. I'm just supposing there.
Yeah, there's a lot of allure to go from Boston to Vegas. I mean, Boston's a legendary city that has a lot of success in the NHL, and go to a Vegas team that in their existence hasn't missed the playoffs. So and then if you're Pietrangelo, you're going from a team who just recently won a Stanley Cup to a team that's still got a lot to prove, I guess you can say. I mean, I still don't think they should have fired Gerard Gallant. I think they could have gotten the Stanley Cup Finals again with him instead of Peter DeBoer, but I'm just a guy.
With an opinion, and it's not wrong. I mean, but you do go from one good situation to another if you're Pietrangelo. That's for certain.
No, absolutely, and you're getting a fairly big pay raise to go there too. You had one team that didn't want to give you what you wanted, but they wanted to keep you around. But you had another team who wanted to bring you in and give you what you want. That's a part of the reason why I changed my job. I had a better offer on the table.
Right.
I
mean, you can only go to the Ozarks. So you can only go to the Ozarks so many times. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You'd hit the strip a little bit.
Real quick before we move on to the next team, I gotta ask you guys, fam, absolutely chime in. Maybe you can help me out here a little bit. You guys believe in fate? Like, do you believe like certain things are meant to happen?
100%. 100%.
There's the reason why I'm asking.
Okay.
Because ever since I got my new job, everything's kind of fallen in line. Every time I go to work at the restaurant, I get screwed somehow. Like tonight, for example, I was supposed to be out at 9:00, so I could be here on time.
Don agrees with you. He says absolutely.
I feel like I'm not supposed to be in the restaurant industry. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Like that universe is telling me, like, get out. Nothing is going to go your way. Like 8:00 rolls around. So I'm like, all right, there's not much going on. Let me start cleaning up so I can get home, so I can leave on time. 6 or 7 tables came in. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I have to leave in an hour. Well, guess what time we got all the orders out? about 9:30.
Oof.
Left at 10 o'clock. Got here surprisingly fast. I mean, seems like every time I go to the restaurant and I got something going on, something happens where I gotta be late or I miss it completely.
Don
Right?
does say
That's something date related, right? Or am I going nuts?
Don saying, Brian, just wait, you will hit the Mega Million one day.
Yeah.
It's right here on the show. Let's go.
That's why I love you, Don.
And DB
Right
was
here,
saying,
DB too.
and DB saying, I can't wait for the contactless OHL. Those kids are going to put up 200 points on the season.
Some already do. Some already do. So the ones that are putting up 160 points, they're going to probably be putting up 300 or 420. We're just going to double it just to be fun.
You know, when you were talking there, I was picturing you in the Justin Long role and Waiting, and how and partially that, and partially, you know, where you're having this epiphany, and then also the other scene where you have like the table come in right at close, like, you know, sending the kitchen into a frenzy. Like, first of all,
It was pretty accurate tonight, though.
live your life how you want, but when you affect others, maybe you shouldn't be going out to eat as much. I know that affects your business, you know, so I mean, I want to, you know, I don't want to prey upon that point too much, but if you're going to go out, you know, really, bro, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's not that.
I don't mind that they come out. Like, that doesn't really bother me, but it always just seems to happen. You know, we get those, like, I'm told, like, earlier in the week, yeah, we can get you out by 9. It's fine. We're usually a ghost town by 8:30 anyway. 8:30, we got busy.
It's time for you to just, you know,
I know.
Start grabbing the microphone and going, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, fuck you, I'm out.
I know. I got plans, though. I need the money. That's the only thing. But I just think it's funny because it's really funny that you brought up Waiting, because every time somebody rang something in, I see the printer go off. I'm just like, once I ever turned right around and she just started laughing as she turned her head the other way. I looked at the ticket. It was her food.
Nah.
She looked at me. She's like, I'm so sorry, Brian. I'm like, you're lucky I like you. In my head, I was thinking something completely else. And I'm not going to say it on here because we don't have our what's it called? Mature audiences soundbite right now.
So, as we move forward on the Atlantic Division, we now turn back.
I had to do
no,
that.
I got you.
I just had to get that out there.
I got you, brother. Robbie, time for you to dive back into Canada.
Well, you know, I was gonna save Ottawa for last because that's where they'll be finishing. But I think I'll just go into them now since, you know, we talked about the captain vacancy. They too have been vacant. They haven't had one since 2018-19. If you think about it, it's more than 800 days and 135 games later. And there's still no plans to choose one for the 2021 season because this isn't a good group of Ottawa Senators. This isn't your grandfather's or your great-grandfather's Ottawa Senators. You know, a putrid record of 25, 34, and 12, 62 points in 71 games played last season. They were one of the few teams that didn't even make the qualifying round. You know, so they're going in a new direction. They're totally rebuilding. They brought in DJ Smith. He's going to be in his second year now, first full year, coaching the Ottawa Senators. He brought in Jack Capuano along with Davis Payne, Bob Jones. They're good hockey guys to try to help rebuild the ship that Pierre Duran has been, you know, unskillfully guiding for the past 5 years. Not one of my favorite GMs in the league, but it's tough. They're in a weird, you know, sort of, you know, middle ground here because they're trying the big move, and I'm just going to get right to it. The big move is them, you know, leaving a lot of people scratching their heads, was them acquiring Matt Murray, and they got him rather cheaply too for the second round pick and prospect Jonathan Gruden. and then sign Murray for 4 years for 25 mil. So they're really betting on Murray, really to show his previous form over the young goalie, who I really thought was going to, start getting more playing time in Marcus Hogberg. How do you boys see that rotation shipping out? I mean, do you have to start Murray because he's the guy that you brought in talent-wise, or is, Hogberg going to get, those starts to continue his development?
Go ahead, Matt. You can go first.
I mean, honestly, you do bring in Murray. I mean, I would be surprised if he doesn't start, only because they did bring him in. So I would think, he's probably – they're looking at him to be the starter, And not to say, though, that if they have a young goalie that they're looking at that they think can be, the future, I could see them saying, okay, well, we'll have Murray, kind of hold the fort down until then. But ultimately, for now, I would say Murray would be the starter for the Senators.
Let me rephrase. He's certainly going to be the starter, but are you going to have his backup be Hogberg? Where he's not getting, he's going to get far less starts than he did last season to continue his development, or do you think they send him down to their AHL affiliate to be the regular starter on that Credence? And then maybe have Anders Nilsson, who they still have on the roster, be their backup. They're certainly not going to be able to do that at the start of the season, whenever that should be, because it's unlikely he's going to be ready because he's still going through some concussion symptoms himself. So I think Hogberg's a lot to start the year, but that was a deal that really, for a rebuilding team to take a shot on a guy that, obviously, was, dynamite in this league and was still playing fairly well. But let's face facts, he had his job taken away by Tristan Jarry.
True. Yeah. There's a very good reason why.
Sometimes, fellas, a player needs a fresh start. And it's something that I think Matt Murray needs. I mean, the kid's proven himself to be a Stanley Cup caliber goaltender. He's won 2. Sometimes I think he just needed to change the scenery. I just don't really think after a few changes on that blue line, he just never really kind of fit in afterwards. He had a hard time getting a grip on the system and just consistently playing well. And I think going to a younger team, a rebuilding team that he can kind of go under the radar and kind of just refocus, get his mentality back. I think he's going to see the bulk of the starts, but I think he's going to pretty much be a platoon in Ottawa. But I mean, what was the return for Matt Murray? It was like a 3rd and a 5th or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was a second round pick. Second round pick and prospect Jonathan Gruden. Okay,
yeah. So I mean, you give up a fairly high pick. I think he's going to see the bulk of the starts.
Fabulous comment. Fabulous comment. He will. He's good. I mean, let's face it. I mean, to what DB was saying, I was going to be reliant on Murray to really hold them in games. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I mean, let's look at the squad. Alternate captains that they rock out with. They got Thomas Chabot, is a good player. He's one of the few homegrown guys. Still only 6 goals and 33 assists, good for 39 points in the shortened season. But he's a guy that they hope that, continue to take the next step entering his 5th year. Your other alternate captain is currently an unrestricted free agent in Ron Hainsey. That's not a good situation. Now, I mean, maybe you could have Brady Tkachuk step up and take that role. He's been a standout player for this team, along with Connor Brown, Chris Turney, Artem Anisimov, and the aforementioned Anders Nilsson. But that's not a very glowing list. And then you look at the offseason additions. Yeah, we talked about Murray, and Maddie talked about Evgeny Dadonov. Something's a little rotten there, man. You see the Panthers shed Trocheck and then Dadonov in successive seasons, just crushing the soul of my boy Nick Rodriguez. who's a huge Florida Panthers fan, huge Dognoff fan. But, this to me screams shedding pieces that are on the decline. But he can provide some scoring for him along with Alex Galchenyuk and Logan Shaw. But, Bobby Ryan to Detroit Red Wings, Don Man. Mark Borowitzki, he's gone too. You still have Hainsey to sign. You still have Anthony Duclair to sign, Mikhail Boddicker, Craig Anderson, who, although the team recently announced he would not be re-signed, obviously, with Murray, in town. So that's a foregone conclusion there. But, as I said, Ottawa's going to be reliant on Murray to hold them in games. Only one team gave up more goals than the Sens last season, and that was with Anderson, Nielsen, and Hogeberg playing reasonably well. I just don't see how this team doesn't finish last in their division, whether that be the Atlantic or the All-Canadian team. They have no offensive system in place as far as I could detect or research. The team's really going to depend on DJ Smith's defensive nature and really build from there. And as I said, the additions of Dadonov and Galchenyuk can create some offensive rushes for this team, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. And it will get better. I mean, they had an excellent draft this season. Tim Stutzel was my favorite international prospect out of Mannheim. They grabbed in the first round along with Jake Sanderson, who we touted him during our prospect show coming from the U.S. National Development Team. And along with the later round pick that they got from, I want to say from the Sharks, where they got Ridley Gregg, who's a good player from the Brandon Wheat Kings of the WHL. So, their cap situation, that's a good call. I gotta feel it's kind of on the low side.
I got you, Robbie.
Got it? You on it?
I'm on it, brother.
Awesome. But the future is bright. But you're gonna Anthony Duclair, the guy from the Coyotes. I think he's a guy you got to sign. And even though he's a once prized prospect, but I mean he put up 23 goals. He's a guy that the further he develops, he shows he could do it. And he hasn't put up 20 goals since his second year in the league out in the desert. So hopefully signs are pointing for him to take a step back in the right direction. But it's going to be a rough rodeo, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Caps at $12.5 million. They still got plenty of room to spare.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, though. Ottawa's in that spot where they are, hard restart, rebuild team. This is a team that still hasn't even – I mean, hell, they not only hard restarted the whole system, they're not even halfway through the updates yet. They're still at like maybe 40%. Not even. I would say 30. They are so early in this process that it's like if this team really wanted to be competitive right now, they would trade away all the young talent they have, which is only like 3 or 4 players, and then spend all of their cap space on legitimate talent, and they don't have it. And there's not that talent out there. So really, Ottawa at this point is in the situation of this is the team that's probably going to be dead last in their division unfortunately, for the foreseeable future. It's just the nature of the situation because you have Montreal that's slowly building itself up, and Rob will talk about them a little later. You have Detroit, but Detroit seems to be a little bit further along than Ottawa is. And then on top of that as well, you then have Florida if they ever want to get their shit together. And then you got Toronto, Boston, and Tampa, the usual suspects. So Ottawa's, this is a tough spot for them. And Prism does bring up a real good point here. He says Melnick is cheap and never pays his young talent when it's time. He's the worst owner in sports. And, I mean, I don't know because I don't know the other 3 if he is the worst owner, but I will say he's definitely the worst in hockey. I can definitely say that has to be. He's probably even worse than Arizona. And that's saying a lot that he's worse than Arizona. But anyway.
I think now that Steve Cohen has bought the Mets, now he's officially the worst owner in sports because, our previous ownership would have taken that reign for sure.
Oh, that's great. By the way, Poe, if you're getting some love from Wills saying that you got some villain vibes going on there with you got the bald head and the goatee combo. He's saying.
I'm working on the heel aspect. That's why I let off with that, Maddie.
What's up, Chrome? And that was, that was Daly. I meant to bring up this one. He was responding saying you look like Lex Luthor.
Sorry, Wills went even better. He said, yup, and a little Obadiah from Iron Man.
Yes, I saw that
I like
too.
the Obadiah one. The Obadiah one's accurate. I see it. I see that.
Yeah, that was played by Jeff Bridges, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it was.
It's a legendary actor, man. That's high praise in my book.
I've also been compared to the dude, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Joe. And we got Joe chiming in. What's up, Joe? And
Really?
he's saying he looks more like Gru from Despicable Me.
That's not a bad one. I love Gru. I love Despicable Me. Those movies are great. Every time I need a laugh, I watch that. I watch Christmas Vacation. That gets me every time. It's also the time of year for that movie.
It is.
Which I don't know if you can really see my little
Oh, nice
over
setup.
there.
I like that. Love that. Nice little setup
I'm
you
not
got
going to
there.
show you any lower because there's a mess down there.
Oh. Hey, that looks pretty, man. Nice.
I did it. Thank you. Appreciate that. This is my time of year. It's my time of year. I shouldn't be upset and getting mad at work. This is my time.
That's right. And you're here on the Hockey Happy Hour, man. It's time to kick ass and take names. Fuck your job. Fuck them. The restaurant one. The restaurant
Ottawa. All right. I do like some of the – and Rob, I agree to a lot of what you said. They have to sign Duclair back. They need to figure out what their identity is because rebuilding teams generally don't know. They're still plugging pieces here and there. I love the Dadonov deal for them because I think he's another guy who may have needed a change of scenery. I don't know if he really fit the Quenneville system. So maybe going north of the border can help with that, and he can get like a resurgence and just kind of do what he did. Ottawa did a great thing signing him because he's a speed guy. He's a very good speed guy. He has a lot of offensive abilities. You know, he's got good vision with the puck. He's got a fairly decent wrist shot. He's got a quick release on that wrist shot, so it could lead to a lot of goals, a lot of offense. Galchenyuk, he hasn't really been good since he left Montreal.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's Ottawa's in a tricky place because they have some really good young pieces, but Anthony Duclair, who had a career year last year, you just let him walk? It makes no sense to me. And you go out and get a guy like Galchenyuk.
Yeah.
Again, he's probably a cheaper option, but you're not going to get the offensive production that you got out of Duclair this year. He fit the system great.
Well,
he had a career year.
You still got time, but what are you waiting for if you're the Ottawa Senators? You need pieces. You need guys because, to DB's point, Murray's getting 40 shots a game laid on him. He's going to be giving up 3 to 4 goals. And still doing an adequate job at that, unless he's standing on his head all season. I don't see how this team doesn't finish in last place despite that. And I think the Murray situation could even blow up on him. They had money to spend, as we verified with their cap, so they spent some money on Murray. And yeah, he is still young enough to where you can start to rebuild this team around him, and maybe it'll work out. But, Maddie will get more into Detroit in a second. But from what I know, I think, my prediction is that they're going to swap places because for Ottawa, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
No, absolutely agree. And what was my other point? With Duclair, he's still really young. He's 25 years old. So, he's going to start finding his prime soon. And, if I'm Ottawa, if I'm the owner in Ottawa, I'm doing everything I can to make sure that he's locked up and you can put him on a line with Tkachuk. There's some young talent there, and I like some of the vet pieces they brought in, but I don't know. You got to figure something. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out what this team's identity is going to be.
No, it's true. Being tightwad as previously described. I mean, maybe he does walk, and that would be to their chagrin. I mean, now let's face facts. I mean, even with Murray, right? 4 years at $25 million. That's not a lot per year. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost a prove it deal.
Mm-hmm. Almost.
I think it is.
Just the length makes it a little bit out of that realm at 4 years, but still.
I mean, I don't know what exactly they're doing. They, like you said, they had a great draft. I love their draft picks, but not re-signing Duclair after the season he had, it's going to come back to bite him.
Yeah,
it's going to come back to bite him.
Yeah,
I understand. Like, I absolutely understand that. Somebody could trade off.
Ottawa's hockey purgatory.
It's so true right now. Like, I understand why you trade off JG Pajot. He's a little bit older.
Yeah.
He was coming up on I believe it was a contract year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, you sell him off, try to sell off Duclair, but I don't understand why they wouldn't have tried. Just let him walk. It's Duclair. He had a great year. You got to either sign him or maybe try to trade his rights. Get something for him. Otherwise, you lost out big.
Yeah, I hear you.
Continue to be exactly what Frizz said and be hockey purgatory for a bunch of these players. And I feel bad. Like right now, I feel bad for the young guys that are going there.
Yeah, I mean, he does sign somewhere else. He'll certainly go to the upper administration of Ottawa and be like, "Yo, I'm out. You basic. See ya."
So
when Kachuk's contract's up, I don't see him staying if they're going to keep doing this. And Ottawa's going to be like this for a very long time.
Well, if it happens, then it's really no shocker because we all know who's behind the wheel there, and he don't give a shit about paying his players. So it's like, well, are you really that surprised when Melnick wants to be a cheap ass that the Senators can't get anything going here? Anyway, but
it is what it is.
We got Priz chiming in here. He was piggybacking off of some of the feel-good movies he has, and his is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. That's his go-to.
That's a great one.
And then The Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence.
I didn't like that. I didn't think it was that good. There's a couple Eddie Murphy movies I love. Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places, Shrek. Love Shrek.
Here's a low blow from DB. Just trust the process.
For Ottawa, it's going to be a long process.
Yeah.
Oh, it will be. So, Joe actually has a couple questions for us. They are Flyers related.
Down here.
Yeah, first one is, I have a question for you guys. Since the Flyers really didn't acquire anyone to help with their D-zone exit, do you think that teams like the New York Islanders and Montreal developed a blueprint on how to beat the Flyers? And will we see a lot more heavy forecheck from teams next season?
I do. I think it's something that they're going to have to re-strategize. But, luckily you got the brain trust that can handle that. They're going to miss Niskanen. I said that earlier on the show. And Eric Gustafsson is a nice addition. I'm actually a big fan of him, but he's not going to help with those exits. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's more stay at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, here's where you're going to need to see, and here's why I have faith that they can make the adjustments to counteract that blueprint. Philip Myers, and Philip Myers. Taking that next step. He's a guy that can be a bruiser at home, but can lead a rush. And we saw that a few times during this postseason and in the round robin, where he skated the puck down, got that exit, and put it in the back of the net to end the game or have a decisive goal in that game. Travis Sanheim is another year older. You didn't trade any of these pieces to get Lane. So you still have them, and you have Provorov again hitting that target age for hitting the prime, right? These are guys that are just going to need to take that next step. Ghost looked really good when he was healthy, when the knees were healthy, right? So I think, I don't know. I'm not as worried about it, but it should be a concern that if they don't get off to too good of a start, the book might be out. What do you say, boys?
I mean, when it comes to here's the thing. I mean, some teams will bring heavy forechecking anyway. That's just what their game style is. I mean, you just got to be ready for those teams. You're going to have rivalry games where the checking is going to be heavy no matter what the team is. Pittsburgh was mostly based on skill, but you know what? Did the Flyers and the Penguins throw the body around every chance they got? You bet your ass they did. Doesn't matter if the skill was the main focal point for the Penguins. So the point is that you're going to have physical play no matter what. It's the Flyers need to be ready for that adjustment that they need to make, which is ultimately what they lost at the end of the day. They really didn't adjust themselves very well to Montreal, and that really killed them in the long run. And then on top of that, when the Islanders, a team we struggled against all year, that's the other thing we forgot sometimes, that the Islanders had us all year. We struggled against them all year. It wasn't just the playoffs. The fact that we lost to them in the postseason just says true that that one team that really has our number is the Islanders. And I understand where Joe's coming from, where he would say that is the book out on the Flyers because of that reason. I wouldn't say that it is. I think that it's only a 1 year into Vigneault's time as the coach. And also on top of it as well, this is still a very young team that is still learning a lot of things, and they won a playoff series for the first time. There was a lot of first steps for them. Also, the other thing that we have to hold accountable is the veterans did not show up when they needed to. And that was the other thing that's where I'm holding a lot of the blame on, is like, where were the veterans? Because the young guys are going to get rattled. We know they are. This is some of them. They had no playoff experience. This was their first time, and they showed up. That was the weird part. They're the ones who showed up. I mean, you had some, like Hayes, he did what he could. Raffle did what he could. But, when Giroux doesn't do anything, when Voracek, he did a little bit in the first round, then he faded away in the second. The point is, like, when you start seeing your veteran players start to fade away and they're getting shut down, that's not going to help the young guys develop at all. So it's a question of veterans stepping up, Flyers needing to make the adjustment, because physical play, if that winds up becoming the one thing that hurts the Flyers at the end of the day, then that adjustment needs to be made, because that's going to happen against certain teams. So that's just how it's going to have to be. They're going to have to be ready for that. And if they're not, then you have to start asking the question of, okay, is it the players or is it the system? Then you have to start getting into that conversation. But we're still way too early on to start asking that question.
Yeah, I mean, size has always been an issue. They can get out muscle a lot, because they do have some smaller forwards there. It's been an issue, and even still with some of the new crop of players. But here's where you're going to have to rely on younger players taking the next step in terms of the physicality element and not getting pushed around the forecheck. Like even like bottom six guys like a Connor Bunneman, a Chris Stewart, guys like that can come in and eat up the size of, because we were getting killed on other teams' fourth line efforts. Certainly in the Montreal series, and not as much as I would have thought of in the Islanders series, but they didn't really need it. So I mean, that's a thing of, I mean, the system you can't. I mean, this is a fresh system. First year coach. For AV's first year in Philadelphia, but I think it's more of like the players. And obviously, like you said, Maddie, in terms of their performance, and Betts disappearing a little bit. I mean, that's not going to be consistent. That's not the type of guys that these guys are, right? But you can't add physical stature. This is where you need to, the development of the farm system coming up. You know what I mean? That's what it's all got to come down to.
I don't necessarily think there's a book out on them yet. I just think that the Flyers just didn't play well. Just overall, especially out of the round robin. I think they kind of blew their load there.
Mm.
And just after that, Montreal played up, Flyers played down. Islanders are just a bigger team than they are. Like I said, I don't necessarily think there's a book out. I just think Flyers just need to be better. Just flat out. They just need to be better. I think they got the talent to be a very good team and be a Stanley Cup contender. They just got to do it. They just got to play better. Especially like you were saying, Maddie, the vets disappeared. Konechny was the leading goal scorer, leading point getter on the roster. Had what, 1 point in the entire playoffs?
Ooh.
Guys just need to step up. That's all.
And you're going to have a healthy Oscar Lindblom back in the lineup. Hopefully Nolan Patrick as well. So that's going to change up the dynamic a little bit. As well, I don't know. And when you have Carter Hart between the pipes, you know what I mean? To his second question, Joe, he's the real deal. You talking about a young goaltender in his first playoff experience. He's going to let in some softies. I'm not concerned about Carter Hart whatsoever because of the mechanics. You want an answer? That's the answer. His mechanics are second to none, and just trust the process, Dave.
Whoops, I didn't mean to put that one up. I meant to put up the second question. My bad.
Yeah.
But that was Joe's second question. That was related to Carter Hart, and he was saying, should we pump the brakes on him? And I say no, because Hart is the real deal. I mean, he is the stud that we've been asking for. Yeah, did he let in softies? Yeah, but I don't really blame that on him. I blame that solely on the defense for just not being there for him. The Flyers were terrible at getting the puck out of their own zone during that Islander series and that Montreal series, too. It was bad. They struggled that entire series trying to clear the puck. So I don't blame that on Hart. It's not Hart's fault that the defense played like shit in front of him. For anything, Hart was the reason why we won several games. The reason why we even got to Game 7 against the Islanders was pretty much because Hart was great in the overtimes. And then on top of that, he won us that series against Montreal because he had that back-to-back shutout. So I don't think it was Hart that you got to look at. It's the defense you had to look at because they really came up short there. And again, that was from a combination of not getting the puck out, not being big on the puck, again, checked off the puck on second efforts like you were talking about, Rob. And dirty areas. They were terrible at the corners. You cannot be bad at your corners in your own zone. It's one thing if you're bad in the corners in the offensive zone, then you turn the puck over. But if you're doing it in your own zone, you turn the puck over there, that's going to end up in the back of your net 9 times out of 10 because that could go right to the slot. So it's, again, one of those, it's the defense really that was the problem. It wasn't hard.
What was the question again? Do we need to pump the brakes on Carter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, not even close. Regardless of how the defense played in front of him, dude, he played really well.
You did.
He kept himself in position for the most part. A couple bad rebounds here and there, but that's going to happen. It's a part of the game. It's just a matter of how you react to the rebounds. It's also where you place the rebounds. If they're going for the leg pads, it's tough to kind of kick them over to the corner, but you got to do your best to be able to cover up quickly. You got to be able to do your best to try and push all the pucks to the corners and hope that your defense is going to react fast enough that they can either bat the pucks away or help Carter be able to cover it. And I felt you didn't see enough of that. Defense did a lot to leave him hanging out to dry. I guess my answer is kind of similar to the first question, and defense they just have to play better in front of them.
Yeah.
I got high expectations for this kid, and the city has high expectations for this kid, and he has high expectations for himself. I think Carter's going to be fine. I think this defense is going to be fine. I think this team's going to be fine. They're a contender. Maybe not a Stanley Cup contender, but they're a playoff contender for sure.
And here's the thing. One thing that we forget about the Flyers is this team is so young, and the depth is so young. So it's like you're going to have this. You're going to have years where the Flyers are going to, you're going to have those moments where the young guys are going to get smacked and they're going to get rattled. And it's going to happen. But it's how you recover from that. And I thought for the youth, they did well in recovering. My issue wasn't with them. My issue was with a lot of the veterans who just didn't do much and to really step up and lead the way, in my opinion. That was the only thing that bothered me. I felt like the young guys at the end of the day, they handled themselves a lot better than a lot of the guys that we expected to handle themselves better. But again, also, Brian, you brought up a great point. Did a great job in the exhibition games, but in a lot of ways, I think the Flyers lulled themselves into a false sense of security. And then they go into the first round. Montreal's already in playoff mode. Flyers may not have been. They were facing teams that were not in playoff mode. They schooled the shit out of them. And then they got caught by Montreal because Montreal was trying to, rattle some cages. And they did it to Pittsburgh. They almost did it to Philly. And then you face the Islanders. The Islanders had our number all year. And it's like, are we really surprised that we got the result we did? Now, the way they were playing, it didn't surprise me at all. But again, take a deep breath. We're okay. It's not the end of the world. Is it the way we wanted the run to end? Of course not. But we still got to win in the postseason. We still got a series victory. It was an unusual playoff anyway, coming off of a break towards the end of the regular season. So we didn't have our momentum as well. That killed us too. We didn't have any of the momentum that we had from the regular season going into that postseason. So that's another thing too. There was a lot of factors that rolls into this. Let's see what happens this season. Again, I don't necessarily think a book's out on them. I just think that, again, it's a matter of adjustments and it's a matter of continuing to move forward as a team.
Agreed,
All
brother.
right.
Agreed.
So, we'll move forward onto our divisional breakdown. Prez was talking about trading Giroux. If it does come down to that, for a long time I was against it. If he starts to show a lack of production, maybe it's not a bad option. But if you can't get much for him, then there's really no point. It's just the Giroux one, I'm now open to it. I used to not be. But I'm starting to come around on it only because, all right, if he's getting towards that part of his career where you're thinking like, okay, maybe it ain't a bad option at this point. Maybe not. But we'll see. We'll see moving forward. Anyway, moving on. So, we go to
Rob, if he dies.
Yeah. And Joe was saying, here's hoping we can at least have 4,500 people in the stands February 1st for opening night. I think he meant January probably, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to be January. It looks like it's going to be mid-January. But, I mean, hopefully we can have people in the stands. Hopefully. All right, so let's see.
Don't bet on it.
Yeah, unfortunately with the cases, yeah. But anyway.
Well, not even necessarily because of that, but it's just I wouldn't bet on it anytime soon.
All right, so we go to my next team on the list. Don. It's time, brother. It's time to talk about the Red Wings.
Don, where you at? You still here?
I hope so.
Your turn. Your time to shine, bro.
It is. So, the Detroit Red Wings, obviously, GM Steve Yzerman, he was quite busy in the offseason. As a rebuilding franchise, the Red Wings were coming off of their worst season that they had had since the salary cap era began, which, if you go this long and it's finally your worst season, that isn't the worst record in the world, but still not good to come off of your worst season. But during the offseason, they did trade a second-round pick they traded for a second-round pick and Mark Stahl that they got from the New York Rangers. They also went and signed Bobby Ryan to a 1-year deal. And they signed Thomas Greiss to a 2-year deal, who will be platooned with Jonathan Bernier. And on the opposite side of that, they also had a really great draft. Of course, they got Lucas Raymond in the 2020 draft, who is going to be a stud. What can you say about this team? They re-signed John Merrill for defensive depth. And they signed Troy Stetcher, surprisingly, who did not get an offer from Vancouver, to a 2-year deal, which was kind of shocking because Stetcher wasn't a bad player. But nonetheless, though, the Detroit Red Wings, they've been a rebuilding team. They're still a rebuilding team now. However, signing Bobby Ryan and getting Mark Stahl, here's a theory that's not a bad option, flipping them at the trade deadline to get more draft capital. Possibilities there. If Bobby Ryan has a really strong year, maybe a competing team, you can trade him and get something for him. Stahl, if he's playing well, you could do the exact same thing because you're still building towards something. But would you say that you're there yet? I wouldn't say that right now. I don't know if the Red Wings are immediately there. Maybe they make some noise. I think they can be frustrating, but I wouldn't say that they're wild card contenders just yet. I wouldn't say that they're. I wouldn't say that they're like 7 or 8 years off, but I think that they're definitely not wild card contenders right now. I think maybe a few years down the line, like 3 or 4, we might start seeing the Red Wings really start to pick up some steam here because they have, and this is the one major note that I made from the research, they have the deepest farm system in the league. So that's a good thing to have on your side. So with that, I decided, instead of compiling key players to look at, I decided to look at prospects to watch out for. So these are the top prospects that the Red Wings currently have. Cooper Moore, Ethan Phillips, Seth Barton, Victor Bradstrom, Jesper Eliasson, Otto Kevin Maki, which is a kick-ass name.
Yeah, it is.
Chase Pearson, Keith Petruzzelli, Elmer Soderblom, another great name, Philip Larson, Albin Grew, Taro Hiroshi, Giovanni Smith, Gustav Lindstrom, Robert Matriasimoni, I think that's how you say that, Yevgeny Sveshnikov, so we're going to have 2 Sveshnikovs if he bans out in the league, Albert Johansson, Antti Tuomisto, great name, Jonathan Berggren, Jared McIsaac, Dennis Cholowski, Michael Rasmussen, Joe Volino, Philip Zadina, the big one that people are looking for, and Moritz Seider. But along with them, of course, you have Lucas Raymond as well. So those are the prospects to look out for when it comes to the Detroit Red Wings. That is the talent that they have sitting down currently in their farm system. And if just half of those guys pan out, the Red Wings could wind up becoming quite a deadly team in the next few years.
You were shaking your head no, Brian, in terms of moving a Bobby Ryan or an Eric Stahl. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Mark Stahl.
Mark Stahl, my bad.
All good. I don't know. Like that's valuable veteran leadership in a young locker room, and that's something that they don't have a ton of. And I was saying this a lot back when we were talking before free agency started about Bobby Ryan finally being healthy, being able to find his game again is huge. And I think this is a great opportunity for him in Detroit to do that and, be a guy, a big guy in the locker room and be that leader. And I think trading him for draft capital would be kind of silly, especially if he has a good year. Because, with some of the names that Matty ran off, I think that Detroit could potentially be a wild card team. Tommy Grice he's been really good the last couple of years, and I think he could carry the Red Wings. Bring in Mark Stahl to be the leader of that defense. You still got Danny DeKeyser's there. Right. That's huge. And this Red Wing team, just signing these 2 guys alone, took a step forward. Took another step forward with Lucas Raymond. So depending on how quickly he can come up, you finally got your guy to play with Dylan Larkin, and you're really going to start seeing Dylan Larkin take off. And we know the top levels he can play at already. So I think it's all going to depend on where they are. So I could see him competing for a wild card. I don't think they get it, but I think we could see him compete for a wild card spot. I mean, call me crazy, but
Crazy.
they're they're not in as bad shape as you think. I think we got to see how well it gels together, but I mean, they have a solid roster.
So here's what Don Don was saying. Starting off with his was rebuild. So show where his head's at. DB got in on the conversation, and he said Pavel Datsyuk is killing it in KHL right now. It's time for Detroit to bring Dad back home. Boy, they would probably be throwing a nice little parade if they brought Datsyuk back. Also, Don Don said, nope, we're going to miss the playoffs. We need 2-3 years to rebuild, which I agree with Don Don here. I do think that in a couple of years, I think the Red Wings will be in way better shape, and I think that they'll be ready to really compete for something here. I mean, yeah, we're talking about the Atlantic, and if you go by that standard, it is the weaker of the two divisions, but that still doesn't mean that it's an easy division. You still have teams that are up and rising, like Montreal. Like we said, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And if Florida ever gets their shit together, they could be a frustrating team to compete with in a race. So again, and then that's not including the Metro teams you got to compete with. So, and that's for wild card. So I think it's a 2-3 year still for me. Personally, that's my opinion on the Red Wings. Do I think the signings are bad? No. I think that they're still very capable players. I think Bobby, I'd like to see him have a real strong year, especially after showing something this year, having his issues, coming over that, which is a great feel-good story. I hope he does have a strong year this year. For Stahl, it'd be interesting to see how if he can really lead this defense and turn it into something. I mean, who knows? If that's what Yzerman really he wants to see on prove-it deals, he wants to see if they are, capable of taking that step forward and helping lead this team. Maybe he does keep them around, or maybe he does just keep them there for inevitably trading them off. But Yzerman's a crafty GM. He slowly built that team in Tampa. He quietly built that team into a force. Like we were all being buzzed around. We were thinking of Boston and how dominant they were for a while, and we forgot Tampa started building itself into something, and look at them now. They're the defending Stanley Cup champions. Took them a while to get there, but they did. They did eventually. Yeah. But DB's response was deeper than the Kings on terms of the farm system, and his response for you, Brian, on Don's like, did Brian say playoffs? And he has the
potential playoffs. I didn't say playoffs. Potential. They could compete for a wild card.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be improved from that. They're going to get out of the cellar. That's going to be the Ottawa Senators' home. That's for certain. But when you talk about guys like Bobby Ryan, 33 years old, if you can get something, if he does have continue to have a successful year, I mean, he could still become a part of the future. But the clock is ticking there. If you can get something for him to start adding more and more younger pieces around your mainstays, Dylan Larkin. I was really impressed with one of their defensemen, Alex Biega. He had a really good season. I think he's going to be one of their top line defensemen, or top pairings, I should say, coming into this next season. Will Jonathan Bernier be able to hold the reins between the pipes? Tomas Greiss is there as well to back him up. And, I always liked him out on the island. So this is a team that, there could be some action there. But I think the time is not now, obviously, if talking playoffs, because to Maddie's point, honestly, I was looking at it and comparing it to the Metro this year, going into this year, the Atlantic may be just as tough now.
Yeah. I mean, what, Brian?
I didn't even think about that. That's a great point. You got Florida, the middle of the road. You got Boston, you got Toronto, you got Tampa at the top. You got Montreal, who's up and coming. You got Detroit, who's up and coming. Ottawa's Ottawa.
I love that Ottawa's Ottawa.
And I think Buffalo has a lot to play for this year. I think this is a playoff or bust year. Not a big fan of the coaching, but as you know, I'm sure we'll get into later on. But adding Taylor Hall, right? I know he's been a guy that's been fluky, but pairing him with Jack Eichel, I see a lot of goals. I actually, in my predicted standings here, I have Buffalo making the playoffs as a wild card and fourth in the division because of all those reasons.
So Don has a question for us. He says, fellas, do you see the Red Wings trying to get another goaltender in the future? From what I saw, they do have a goalie in the farm system right now, and that was one of the players that I rattled off there. And like a dumbass, I did not write the positions down because I was in a hurry before the show. But maybe that's where they're looking towards. Maybe they're looking to develop a goalie, which may not be the worst thing in the world. And if that is the case, then I do see them looking at goalies again, only because of stopgap reasons to get to a prospective goalie. But if they're not looking to get one through the draft, I would say they would probably be in the market to find a goalie if Jonathan Bernier and Grice don't cut it, But again, we don't know what will happen with that tandem. That tandem may wind up being actually something good for them, Look at it this way. When the Blues built themselves back up, they had a tandem for a long time. It was Jake Allen, it was Brian Elliott. How long did those two rocket it back there? A while. And Brodeur was there for like 5 seconds. But still, the point is that you had that tandem for a while, and the Blues damn near got to the Stanley Cup Finals. They fell short in the Western Conference, but still, though, got to give credit where credit's due. Maybe the tandem will work out for them at the end of the day.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. The tandem might work. I definitely think Detroit should really strongly consider drafting a goaltender or signing an undrafted goaltender and just see what happens. Because if they're really gonna want to get this dynasty rolling again and being that team that they were in the 90s, and you're gonna need a young goaltender. And you see the Tampa Bay Lightning right now, Steve Yzerman's old team. They're in the how can I put this? They're towards the end of it, but like they're in the middle of their powerhouse run because they have a lot of homegrown talent.
Yeah.
And Detroit has a lot of homegrown talent as well. Some of it you haven't seen yet, and some of it you won't see for another year or two. But if they can get a goaltender and they can develop him and get him ready to go, I can see Detroit possibly being that dynasty that they once were. It's all about the homegrown talent.
I have a couple of names to fire at you, Maddie, in terms of that goaltender you were thinking of. Calvin Pickard, a Canadian, Philip Larson, a Swede, or also from Sweden, Victor Bratstrom. These are all two of the high prospects I see within Detroit Red Wings farm system in the goaltending position.
Yeah, so those were the two. Yep. That's what I was thinking of. But yeah.
Who? Calvin Pickard, Philip Larson?
Philip Larson and Bradstrom. Those were the two that I saw.
The two Swedes, which is odd. That's cool.
But I mean, if that's where they're going. By the way, what's up, Bryce?
Bryce Harper?
No, Bryce Blackwell.
Bryce. We haven't heard from Bryce in a while.
Yeah,
Bryce Harper is coming in on some stuff on IG for us.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys heard about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's one of the posts where we took like some of the better players on all the Philly teams and made 4 teams out of it. Bryce Harper chiming in on that post saying Team Forest Fire, where it wound up being him, Carter Hart, and Dallas Goddard, which I got to say, that was probably the best team, and I got to agree with Bryce Harper on that.
It'd be a little more fire, and this is my homer Flyers fandom, if you took out Dallas and put TK there.
And
Are we talking TK pre or post playoffs?
pre, always pre.
No, I take him right now, man. Watch, the onslaught of goals that are going to come off of TK's stick this year. This way.
Yeah, you watch.
It's just a redemption story, dude. You know what I mean? There's too much talent. Everybody has those down times, right? I just can't wait for the onslaught.
Yeah, Bryce has said he's ready for the season. Flyers, baby. Yeah, man. Can't wait for it. Unfortunately, we'll have to wait a little longer than we originally anticipated. But you know what? If we can at least get a season, then I'm not going to complain.
No, seriously.
And Don said, man, I can't wait to see Philip Zadina. And that is the big one, besides obviously Lucas Raymond, who are, two major prospects for the Detroit Red Wings right now. But yeah, that's basically the sleuth of just some of the prospects that they have. Those were basically rankings I took from the Hockey Writers. Those were the top 25 that the Red Wings have. So when you have a ranking system of 25 prospects and all of them are possible, that's a deep system to say the least. It kind of reminds me of when the Flyers were starting to kind of rebuild and retool their team. Like, holy shit, we got like 12 or 15 guys that in the near future could wind up in the orange and black, which was always nice to see. But yeah, Red Wings right now, they got some guys who could be wearing the red and white real soon.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it overall. I got no issues with anything. Just it's a matter of putting it all together for Detroit. Like I said, bubble wildcard team.
Prism. Oh yeah, I forgot about Detroit prospects. I tend to try to forget they exist. Random fact: they are the only NHL team I don't follow. Oh my god!
You may be Pronger's best friend, but you're Don's arch nemesis here.
Oh, all right. So with that, that is the Red Wings. Oh come on, Don. He's look at what he does. This is what he does. I can't believe it. Come on, Don. Come on.
You shut your mouth when you're commenting on the board.
All right. So that's the Detroit Red Wings. And now we change gears. All good things got to come to an end. Sorry, Don. And we go down to Mr. Darkwing, Brian Daly. Time for you to give your report on the defending and reigning Stanley Cup champions, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Do I have to?
Apparently, yes.
I'm having fun on some groups right now arguing about Carson Wentz.
Oh, that's always fun.
I don't get people. But all right, so Tampa Bay Lightning, reigning, defending, fighting, whatever that guy would say about Brock Lesnar. Tampa Bay Lightning. It's not a ton to really say. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Stanley Cup champions for a reason. Best team in the league last year. Best team throughout the playoffs. A couple of things we need to just go over. A couple key additions or re-signings. Pat Maroon, Luke Shen to 1-year deals. I believe Pat Maroon gets 1.2 a year and Luke Shen gets like 750K. Somewhere along those lines. Key departure, Kevin Shattenkirk. That's a huge loss for the blue line. Very solid top 4 defenseman. Really fit in well with Tampa Bay. Had a really good playoff run. Had a couple big-time goals. Now, here's the problem for the Tampa Bay Lightning. According to Cap Friendly, as of right now, this moment, as of this morning, cap space, 0. Nothing. Nada. So this leads me to a couple questions here for this team. Juan, is this a cup or bust season for them again?
I would say, yeah, they're kind of in that throes of, they're trying to win the cup as many times as they can before their window is officially shut.
Bingo. And that's exactly the answer I was looking for. This is a cup or bust team. They are built for it. They're still built for it despite losing a couple pieces here and there. And they didn't really lose much because Kevin Shattenkirk was the biggest key departure that they had. So, some of the other guys are getting a little bit older. Your Ryan McDonough's, Steven Stamkos. Luckily, you still have Nikita Kucherov, who's still relatively young. Tyler Johnson's getting a little bit older. He's not the effective player that he used to be. So you got to really look out for certain players. Blake Coleman came in and was a great addition from the New Jersey Devils at the trade deadline. So they got to take advantage of having the roster they have while they can, because there's going to come a point where they're going to have to start trading pieces. You're starting to see it now. Try to get teams to pick up Tyler Johnson during free agency, putting them on waivers. Nobody picked them up. So now you're stuck with them. With the cap situation, it's probably going to be another year or two, but you're really going to have to really consider breaking it down, because you got to free up the cap space because, like I said, you have none. There's going to be young guys you draft that you're going to want to bring up. You're going to want to sign the long-term deals. You can't do that. You can't do that right now. And, you're going to have to start moving pieces. And with that is, hopefully it's not going to be a rebuild. It's going to be a retool for them, at least for the Lightning fans. I could care less what they do. This team is going to be a playoff team regardless. But, come the trade deadline, if there is one, I think there's a possibility for a big deal. Because they're going to have, like I said, they got to find some kind of cap relief. It's really the only issue I see with this team. I see them being as good as they were last year. I see them being a top-tier team, Stanley Cup contender. If they can find some cap relief early, they might be able to keep from really falling down the depths and, falling out of playoff contention. If they can do this right, they don't have to worry about it. They can get the cap relief. They can move pieces here and there. And, they don't really have to worry about it.
I mean, if we get the Atlantic Division or the equivalent of it, it'd be very hard to bet against Tampa. I mean, the only team that I see really competing with them right now would be Boston. But we just talked about some of the issues that Boston's now facing. So
I'm not even necessarily sure I see Boston competing right now.
Yeah, that's what I was
got a lot of question marks for me, but
so I mean, I guess you would say that this is kind of Tampa's division to lose, really.
Maybe Toronto.
Maybe
I could see Toronto. I think the one thing that they did really well, and I wish I could have said this earlier about the Maple Leafs, is adding grit. I think that's something that they've been missing. Guys who can just kind of like help stand up for some of their stars, like JT and William Nylander, Austin Matthews. Defense, they got to get a little bit stronger on the defensive side. And if they can do that, I see Toronto really being a team that could compete with Tampa. But ultimately, yeah, I think it's the Eagles by far.
DB, you gotta love it when DB brings that shit in there. It's awesome.
I mean, the Eagles next year are going to be 63 over the cap, 63 million over the cap.
That's
brutal. I'd rather have nothing in the cap than be 63 million over. But anyway, yeah, I really see it coming down to Tampa Bay and Toronto. But ultimately, I think Tampa Bay is the better team than Toronto. But we'll see how the new additions to the Maple Leafs see how they do. I like TJ Brody on that backside. I like Wayne Simmons in the bottom six. You know, these are going to be guys who are going to grind for him, and it's going to be the type of players that are going to stand up for these guys. And I don't want to use the term protect them, but you know, it's going to be those guys that are going to have their back.
It's like I
And
said
that's something
before,
they've been
Brian.
missing.
It's like I said before, character guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's probably the best way to describe it. Character guys. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, DB brought up this earlier. Is anybody talking about my idea to have all teams play in outdoor stadiums to get the season going quicker? Every game would be a stadium series. Imagine that. That would be wild if you had games in the stadiums. Boston actually looked at Fenway, ironically enough. And that's the funny part. The Bruins actually was looking at Fenway.
Yeah, I mean, I commented how nuts that would be, and it certainly open air would be better for the virus. Maybe be able to have some fans in the open air scenario. But if they're not filling the building, they're not having stadium series. You're not going to see outdoor games until it can go full capacity.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm so interested to see what happens with that, though.
No, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying earlier, I don't know if you caught it. They got the teams picked out. It's just a matter of who's going to get it.
Prison was saying I got Toronto. They got way tougher and Jumbo Joe on the fourth line. Let's go Blue Buds.
I knew there was somebody else. I
Joe
couldn't
Thornton.
remember who it was. Jumbo Joe. Because apparently David Orozco said we need to sign Jumbo Joe, Corey Perry, and some other
Zdeno Chara.
old guy. Some other guy in his 40s that David, I thought I taught you better. Apparently not. I gotta do a better job. I gotta be better. I gotta be better. Rob knows. Rob knows what I'm talking about. I gotta be better.
So let's see here. We now change gears from the defending Stanley Cup champions to Rob's final Canadian team, and how fitting that it will be the team with the most Stanley Cups, the original of the original six, the Montreal Canadiens.
Those pesky Habs, man, did us in Philadelphia feel that this year. But this was an interesting team to look up with a very non-biased journalistic thing, because I still carry some disdain for them. But they had a very mediocre season, 31-9. Can't get much middle ground than that. 71 points, 71 games played, and they crept in as a number 12 seed. Them and Chicago being two of the more controversial picks for the 2014 tournament. But the Canadians backed it up by upsetting the Pittsburgh Penguins in the qualifying round, 3-1, and then ultimately defeated by the Flyers in the first round, 4-2, but made it a hell of a series. I mean, Brandon Gallagher and his annoying, taunting ways came full force on the national stage and showed, what kind of quality player that he is. I mean, a little bit more than just the blue collar guy that they've been labeled with. I mean, this is a guy that, I would have projected him as a third straight 30-goal season had they played the full 82. He had 22 goals in the shortened season. Would have been tough to get to 30 a little bit in 11 games, but distinctly possible. And just a guy that gets underneath the skin of the opponent. And, as Flyers fans saw that full out. Starting at the top, GM Mark Bergevin in his 9th year. I didn't even know this too, and he's been there for 7 years. Their assistant GM is Scott Mellenby.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did not know that. I looked into this team a little bit deeper, but one guy I did know I was very familiar with, Claude Julien, 5th year, but 8th overall in the Montreal organization, as he spent his first 3 years as a head coach in charge of the Habs. We remember him having that scary heart issue during the playoffs. Thank goodness he made a full recovery. But Kirk Muller had an opportunity to step in as interim head coach. His assistant coach is in his 5th year, and it was also brought back like Julian. He was Kirk Muller was on his staff on the first go around.
Yeah. The Habs of the Alex Caruso's of the NHL right now.
That's a good comparison. That's a good one. That's a good call. That's a good call. I mean, their captain, Shea Weber, long-standing D-man beast in this league. He's been their captain since 1819. Alternate captains, Paul Byron, good quality player. The aforementioned Brandon Gallagher. When you look at their standout players, you cannot look past Carey Price, despite his longevity in the league. He showed that, he could still get it done and did it well. He's 13 years of service. He's showing his age, but, he said in the playoffs, fuck you, I ain't dead yet, and had a hell of the playoffs. The Richard Pryor shout out there. Had a hell of the playoffs and will be relied upon to man the pipes as they continue. I know this is a guy Priz is on a lot, and Caden Primo, the hotshot rookie goaltender, and heir apparent to Price. So it'll be important for Carey Price to, continue to carry that torch. And eventually, teach the young one, talking about Obi-Wan, the second show tonight. Not a couple other standout players as we saw in the playoffs: Thomas Tatar, Nick Suzuki, who's coming off a nice rookie season, especially in his playoffs.
He scared the shit out of me during that series, man. Oh, I'll tell you right now, I hope we don't face Montreal a lot in their forthcoming era, because I don't want to deal with Nick Suzuki. He scares the shit out of me. He is that good. Like, Jesus.
He's dangerous. He's up and coming too, man. Just bringing up his stats here a little bit. I mean, rookie season, 13 goals, 28 assists, 41 points in those 71 games. And we know what he did in the playoffs as well. Great on the power play. 8 power play points overall on the season. But he's just a kid that's going to get better and better. Along with Philip Deneau, Joel Armia, Jesper Kakaniemi. Yes, I did pronounce it right, Thomas.
One of the best things in hockey. I'm sorry. I love Jesper Kakaniemi.
That's a good name.
Beautiful.
That's a good name.
Beautiful. One of the best. But there's a nice core. There was a nice core. And now you add my new man crush, Tyler Toffoli, to the mix, who I think would have been a nice big body for the Philadelphia Flyers, but that's another story for another day. He showed that he could still get it done in a brief audition with the Vancouver Canucks in his 17 games. He's a guy that could add towards the goal scoring. And like I said, brings a big frame, 6 foot, 200-pound frame to the mix. So he'll be a key addition. They also got Brandon Baddock, is a prospect, I believe, from the Devils organization in the AHL. He's really a kid to look out for. Keep your eye out on him. They did lose Max Domi, which is going to be a big loss. Talking about young and up-and-comers, certainly. He had his ups and downs. He sort of fell out of flavor during those playoffs. But, he trying to think, where did he go to? Oh, the Blue Jackets. Yeah. He'll be a good piece for the Columbus Blue Jackets. They also lost Keith Kincaid and pending free agents, Dale Weiss, Christian Folan, guys that don't really move the needle too much, whether you re-sign them or not. But they could, and there's been some rumors out there of them bringing Ilya Kovalchuk back, who they signed last year, but then traded to the Capitals at the trade deadline. It'll be, I think the Caps have the rights to re-sign him first before other teams. Is that true or no?
Believe so.
Yeah, I think they have the first crack at it. But in either event, if they don't re-sign him, I could see him, if he wants to continue his career, if he chooses he still wants to play, he could maybe go back to the Canadiens, where he performed pretty well, enough to build some draft capital. He was a guy that thrived, I think, in Julian's system. I mean, I say it's an offensive system, but it really feeds off the defense. He's got that classic collapsing zone defense, which really spurns the counterattack and the pressure of the offense, as we, in Philadelphia became very familiar with during the playoffs, as I said before. They clog the neutral zone. They cause their opponent to make the mistake and then make them pay on the counter rush. They can be really frustrating to play against because the system is really less reliant on having talent and just more reliant on players buying into the system. As long as you know your role and shut your mouth. You know your role in this system, you're going to do very well here. Once the young Canadian players mature, they will suffocate even more offensively inclined opponents. So, yeah, Maddie, they're definitely going to be a tough matchup this year, a tough matchup if you were to line them up in the playoffs. It's really tough to predict depending on how the divisions shape out, where they'll fall. I believe they could have a chance to return to the playoffs if it's an all-Canadian division. But like I said, like we've been saying all show, the Atlantic is going to be tougher this year. So I have them finishing 5th in the Atlantic and narrowly missing the playoffs. Maybe I'm praying for that. I don't know. But it's not going to work out like that anyway. It's going to be an all-Canadian, and I think they would compete better in that crop, believe it or not. I mean, I can see Montreal doing very well against a team like Edmonton.
I just realized something. Imagine Calgary with the way they like to hit and against Montreal and the way they like to hit.
Ooh.
Those two would beat the piss out of each other. That'd be a lot of fun to watch, actually.
A lot of fun. That's good.
I can't say I disagree with anything you said there, Rob. I agree for the most part. They got a lot of really good young talent there, a lot of up-and-comers, guys who are already making an impact, like Kotkaniemi. I am still a little confused on why they dealt Max Domi, but they did get a very good player in return, and I'm blanking on his first name. Derek Anderson, I want to say, but I feel like Derek Anderson's in Calgary.
Oh, man, I looked at it before, too.
Defenseman. I believe he's a defenseman.
By the way, DB took back the Alex Caruso comment. He says they're the Brad Marchands of the NHL.
Everybody hates them.
I mean, here's
everybody's skin.
I mean, if Montreal wants to, if they start licking people, then it's like, okay, yeah, that they've officially taken the Brad Marchand award. I wonder if that will be a trophy from now on. If someone licks another person,
they've never whiffed on a shootout either. But yeah, I mean, I like where the team's headed. They got some good pieces in good places, and they're a team that's going to compete. And they've brought in some good pieces here and there, and I agree. I think they're a team that could potentially compete for another playoff spot, and if they do, I feel bad for the team that's got to play them.
Yeah,
top out. Josh Anderson.
Yeah. They're gonna. You know what they remind me of? They remind me of those teams in the early 2000s and in the 90s. That would be those lower seeded teams, like the 8th seed or the 7th seed, that you would wind up drawing, and you figure, okay, this ain't gonna be much of a series. And then that is the single most annoying opponent you have to face in the entire postseason. For all intents and purposes, the semifinals is easy. Even the conference final isn't that hard. It was the first round that was a son of a bitch, because that one team you didn't think was going to be a pain in the ass turned out to be a pain in the ass. You remember those. You remember what it was like. Think about it. The Flyers, like, one time we faced Tampa in the first round. Tampa turned out to be a lot harder than we thought they were going to be. And they were a pain in the ass to deal with. And then we faced Florida, and we all know how that ended. It's like it was teams like that. You didn't expect anything from them, and then they brought nothing but piss and vinegar and fire at you, and you were not ready for them.
Correct. Real quick side note, fellas. I want to throw this out there. A real good friend of mine back from high school, my dude Schaefer, put out a hot take. Based on some things he just recently found out when he was trying to get a jersey signed. He said that Carolina may be sold back to the old owners per contract clause. They could still sell the Canes back by the end of 2021, he thinks. And as a result, Brendan Moore's going to leave to co-coach Seattle, the new organization, the Kraken, because He went to send a jersey out to. This is his theory. He went to send a jersey out for him to sign, and discovered that his house has just been sold in Raleigh. You can look it up online.
Huh.
Yeah, yeah. And they're obviously going to have to start putting that coaching, staff together sooner than later. Because not trying to look past this season, but 21-22 will be right around the corner. How interesting would that be, boys?
If they go back to the old owners, are you saying we're getting the Whalers back? If we get the Whalers back, I'm actually going to be happy. I'll be like, oh, cool, the Whalers are back. Awesome.
Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm okay with them staying in Carolina.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too. I think it's to stay in Carolina, but the league. There's been something missing in life without the Hartford Whalers.
I think the Bruins would agree, and that's the easy first round elimination.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I had to say it because that's pretty much what the Whalers were.
I mean, how much success did they really have?
Not much.
And how much success does the Canes have?
Yeah,
they have a cup, so there you go.
But yeah, I think it's all about the original ownership in Carolina. I think there's been 2 sets of owners in
gotcha.
Carolina.
Okay.
I believe so. I mean, I could be talking out my ass there.
Okay. Well, I mean,
Do that all
if
the
that's
time.
the case. Yeah. But anyway. And and also Don was saying don't forget about Cole Caulfield in the future.
I love that kid. I love that kid. He's going to be good. I wanted him in Anaheim so bad.
DB was saying he's just going to pour one out for Toffoli. Having to say goodbye. It's tough when you have to say goodbye to the players you love.
Yeah.
I loved it when he left. Sorry, DB, but
Of course you did.
I did. I hated playing against. I hated watching Anaheim play against him because he would always just be a dangerous player, and also because I just hate LA. But yeah.
Well,
Whatever.
I mean, you are a Ducks fan, so I could understand. I could understand why you would be happy to see him go.
I would usually say I'm glad LA is piss poor, but we're just as piss poor. So I don't really have much room to talk there, which is fine. It's all good.
All right, then.
Who sucks more? We do. No, we do.
Don's calling you out. He's saying, have a heart.
Working in the restaurant business for 18 years, that heart goes away very quickly. It's very, very cold.
All right. It's as cold as that burger that went underneath the grill and no one bothered to go get it. Anyway.
And that's why we have mice. Actually, that's the reason why most places have mice, but just throwing that out there. It's not just my restaurant. It's probably every one of them. So, excuse the pun. Food for thought.
Hey-o.
I mean, you'll have those restaurants where you got like those 5-star chefs that are like, if you don't, it's not perfectly clean when you leave. You're not going home, but you never know. My place is really clean though, but we still have mice. It happens. It is what it is. You can't avoid it. You just gotta set traps. Hope you get them.
A great one here from DB. Ducks versus King right now is like the movable object versus the stoppable force.
No, I love it. It's great.
That's a good one.
Analogy because they both suck.
That was a good one. Good one there, DB. Good one.
They both suck. They both suck. Like there's no other way to say it. They both suck. They're terrible. That's why I hate rebuilding.
All right.
I get miserable and then I get frustrated but you get talented players. You get very talented players.
I've been putting this off for too long. I have to talk about them now. I don't want to talk about them, but I fucking have to. The fucking
Get over it.
Sabres.
Do
Oh,
it.
there we go. The fucking Sabres.
I'm taking
All
this
right.
shit, I'm taking this shit remote so I can comment and troll on Facebook.
All right, so the Buffalo Sabres. On a positive note, the Sabres have had the longest current playoff drought with the 9 consecutive seasons they have gone without a playoff berth. And you wonder why Buffalo fans keep throwing themselves through freaking burning tables. That's just in the Bills' freaking tailgates. Anyway.
The Bills Mafia is awesome.
And on the other notes from their offseason, they signed Tobias Reeder for depth. They signed Taylor Hall, the big one, for a 1-year deal. And they traded for Eric Stahl. And on the notes from what happened last year, Jeff Skinner had a very disappointing season last year after hopefully being what was supposed to be Jack Eichel's partner in crime. That did not happen. He had a very bad year. And, well, he kind of needs to rebound after shit in the bed. Now, one thing that was interesting when I was looking up information on them on BuffaloSabersAlwaysSuck.com, saying they had strong 5-on-5 play, but they had terrible special teams. They were 30th in penalty kill. There's 31 teams in the league, and they were 30th on the penalty kill. Damn. That is bad. Holy shit, that is bad. I thought we had a hard time on special teams. Good God almighty. Anyway, their goaltending was also not consistent. Linus Ullmark was fine. Carter Hutton was not. So you had a yin and yang situation going on there over in Buffalo. So basically what that divides down to is Carter Hutton needs to actually, show that he's a good goalie. And Linus Ullmark, he needs to prove that last year was not a fluke and that he can be and he should be the starter moving forward for the Buffalo Sabres. Because the Sabres have desperately needed goaltending ever since Ryan Miller packed his bags and said, I cannot take this anymore. You're a cruel mistress, Buffalo. I'm done. I'm moving on. So that's what he did. Anyway, for the Buffalo Sabres, the key players that will be needed for the Sabres to do something this year are as follows. Obviously, Jack Eichel. That's the easy one to throw out there. Rasmus Dahlin, Jeff Skinner, Sam Reinhart, Victor Olofsson, Taylor Hall, Eric Stahl, Carter Hutton, Linus Ullmark, Zemgus Girgensons, Casey Middlestat, Rasmus Asplund, which I like that name just because it's really close with Assplug. So anyway, I called him that when the Flyers would play. Anytime I saw Asplund, I'm like, hey, it's Assplug. Anyway, Brandon Montour, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Colin Miller and Matt Irwin. Those are players that I feel like if they can play well, the Sabres can actually do something. So here's the thing.
I can't with you sometimes. I swear to God. Oh my God.
Rob's trolling me. Rob's trolling me over here on the comments.
Good.
Matt,
somebody needs to.
Saying I secretly have a Hasek jersey. No, I don't. And if I did, I would probably wind up getting the fucking I'd probably wind up getting a fucking Ottawa Senators version of the Hasek jersey well before I get it. I would never get a Sabres jersey. Fuck no. Fucking Don.
I don't know, Don.
I'm just gonna keep bringing this up. DB. Oh.
I'm with Don. I got nothing.
Okay, and so he says, I think I want to send Matt a Buffalo jersey. If you do that, I will absolutely make sure that we can film me burning it. I will 110%. absolutely do that. You could send me a Barnaby one. You could send me no. You know what? Send me this one. Send me one of fucking Maxim Afinogenov. Send me an Afinogenov one. I will burn that son of a bitch tomorrow. Fuck him. Oh, anyway.
Why not get a Mira Shatan jersey and then
It's because his last name's Satan, so that's okay. Anyway, so
there you go, Don. Send him a Mira Shatan jersey.
all right. So that's basically my summation of the Buffalo Sabres here. What I would have to say, the Sabres have talent. We know they do. But like the Florida Panthers, it doesn't gel. For some reason, it has not worked out for them. Now, I don't necessarily blame the players for this. And the reason why I don't is because I blame the organization behind the players. Between not being able to find a steady goaltender, maybe they have one in Allmark, we'll see. On the other hand, too, they've had how many coaches? They've had
I think that's their biggest issue.
Yeah.
Going from coach to coach to coach the way they do. Players aren't able to learn a system and get used to a system because they're learning a new one every other year.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it got so bad that they brought what is his name? Oh, he used to coach the he used to coach the fucking Islanders back in the day. He used to play for the Sabres too. He was a fucking grinder, and I forget his fucking name.
Matt LaFontaine?
No, it wasn't LaFontaine, but it was a good guess. What was his name? Son of a bitch. I had it in my head too, and it's gone. But anyway. What?
Not Lindy Ruff.
No, wasn't him. What was his fucking name? After they fired Lindy Ruff and after they fired Dan Bylsma, after they decided to take a plunge on Bylsma and
Ralph Kruger.
Yes, it was Kruger. He wasn't that good at all. He was terrible. Anyway, the point is that the Buffalo Sabres have had a constant, steady, revolving door about Buffalo, and it just seems to be that they can't figure out what system works for them. They can't figure out what system's the best for them. However, after seeing some of what they did, they need to fix their special teams. That's their biggest issue. With being the 30th in penalty kill, that pretty much puts you in a lose-lose situation the entire season. It's another one of those, you have the talent, you know you do. Jack Eichel is right there. He's your franchise face. You have, Rasmus Ristolainen. You have Zemgus Girgensons. You have Reinhart. You have how many other talented players? You just got Taylor Hall now and Eric Stahl. So it's like, okay, you guys have a chance to do something this year. The question is, will you do it? We've been saying this about the Sabres for how long now? For like 2-3 years now. And they've done zilch since then. So it's like Florida. It's Florida North. This team every fucking year, we think they're going to do something, and they do nothing. And it's like, just delete the fucking franchise. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, and if they did, they would have done something right by now. You delete Florida while you're at it, too. Anyway.
I mean, I think we kind of partially figured it out. Their goaltending situation's fine. I'm looking at their stats now. Carter Hutton, 12-14 to forward at 3.18 goals against. And then Linus Olmark was 17-14 and 3 with a 2.69. So goaltending's been solid. Defense has been okay. But I think you're onto something as far as their special teams. I think that's the part where they're lacking. And a lot of that comes from your coaching system. And it's not good. It's just not good. Looking at the roster now. Rasmus Dahlin, 40 points. Jack Eichel, 78 points. Victor Olofsson, 42 points. Sam Reinhart, 50 points. Rustolinen, 33 points. One of the guys that you're paying a lot of money to, Jeff Skinner, 23 points. 20 points from Jimmy Vesey. You got to get more out of these guys, especially your top tier players. Your guys like Jeff Skinner and Sam Reinhart and Kyle Oposo, who you're paying $7 million a year for, 19 points. You got to get more out of these players. I mean, I love Jake McCabe. I love Colin Miller. They're good, solid, physical defensemen. You have Curtis Lazar, who was a first-round pick in 2013, the 17th overall. He's not panning into anything special. So, you know, and then you bring in Taylor Hall. So hopefully Taylor Hall can help, you know, create some more offense for this team. But it's definitely going to improve the power play, but you got to figure out the penalty kill. And that's where you're going to lose games. You're going to lose games on the penalty kill. If you can't kill them off, you're going to lose every game.
Yeah.
I think that's their biggest issue.
Right. Now, here's the thing, though, and no bias here. When we faced them while we were going on that win streak, I remember this. They came to Philadelphia. They were on a hot streak in their own right, and we were trying to continue staying hot in our own right. We were like trying to get to like 10-game wins. They were trying. I think they were on like a 7 or 8 game win streak. We met them in Philly, and the Sabres fought us hard throughout the entire game. I thought, damn, this is not the Sabres team that I usually see where the Flyers school them. No, this is a team that's really trying to beat us right now, and they've got the skill to do it. It's all there. It's the matter of making it gel in the long run, and then on top of it, consistent play, special teams, getting better, and having a coach that ultimately the team buys into, that you trust, that you know will get the job done, and you can actually get invested into. That's the major issues that currently is happening right now for Buffalo, because you know that there's no reason why a team that's sporting guys like Jack Eichel and Ristolainen and Reinhart and the rest of them, there's no reason why this team shouldn't be competing for a wild card spot year in and year out. They should have made it at least once by now, and they haven't even done it. 5 years into Jack Eichel's time there, and they have nothing to show for it, you know?
Lack of leadership also helps.
Yeah.
So you bring in a guy like Eric Stahl, former captain in a couple organizations. So I think that helps. I think that's going to help big time. You get a leader in the room. You get a former captain in the room. A guy to help mold Jack Eichel a little bit more as a leader. A couple of these other guys. I mean, you got to see Tage Thompson too. He's going to be a guy that they're going to need to lean on. He's expected to make the roster this year, I think. Brandon Montour, you need to get more out of, but it's not a bad roster. They're very young. They're young, and I think that does more damage than good.
You're right. Which is why when they did get trade for Eric Stahl, it made sense. You know, it's like they want to bring some kind of veteran leadership there. I understand why they were trying to do that. But DB was saying Taylor Hall has to be a one and done in Buffalo until he signs with the Leafs next year, right? If that is the case, I'm going to laugh my ass off. But you know what? I'm also going to not be happy because that means Buffalo is going to get the #1 overall pick. But anyway.
Taylor Hall is like the village bicycle. Everyone's going to have a ride.
Oh, that's great. Oh. Taylor Hall, the gift that keeps on giving.
People. Feel so
good. Yeah. That should be on his trading card. On the back, everybody gets a turn.
Oh my God, that's terrible.
Hey, but he'll bring some veteran presence there. I mean, you know, as we're talking about, he's been around the block. So, I mean, you know, I think the motivation will be high. It's do or die right now for the Sabres. Yeah, because they don't make the playoffs again this year. I think they're blowing the shit up.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what's funny? Like the way I'm wearing my hat right now, it actually kind of looks like I already shaved my head. It doesn't look that bad.
I was thinking the same thing, man.
Might have to consider it. I know we were talking about it earlier.
You're a handsome double down there, baby. Come on.
Oh, you know.
That's the ultimate lesson we learned here today. That was the most important thing. It wasn't the Sabres.
I'm just stay on the show until all three of us are bald.
Then what? Then you're gonna leave? Oh, but
Yeah,
then,
I
then
think
we'll
I-
have to change. We'll have to change the name of the
Fortunately-
show. We'll just have to call ourselves the Baldies. Anyway,
Unfortunately, I think I have a little bit more hair than Maddie, so his is just longer.
I don't know.
I have no hair, so I can't comment. Like, even if I didn't shave.
I'm getting there. It's looking bad, but as far as the Sabres go, I'm not. My hair's not looking as bad as their organization.
Oh. Segue.
All right. So with that, and DB's comment here was Florida is technically Buffalo South. So many fucking New York accents in Florida. If you want to get technical about it. And
Apparently
let's
he
see
does.
here. And then Don saying, with Detroit rebuilding, do you think it's time to move on from Jeff Blashill?
I'm surprised they haven't yet. If I can be real, there was some rumblings of him losing his job. I think he was either last year or 2 years ago. The fact that he's still there is kind of shocking, but I think once they get the roster in place and they know who they're going to work with, I think that's when you're going to see Blashill be removed, and they're going to get the coach that is going to take them to that next level. I think for right now, Blashill is just a developmental coach, and he's just going to be there to help the young guys. And then once they're ready to compete, I think Stevie Y makes the move, and they bring in somebody else.
Yeah, I could see that. So, with that is our roundup of the Atlantic Division. Although we may not get the Atlantic Division this year, but after it's all said and done, we'll probably return to it proper the year after that. But overall, though, the division is getting tougher. The Atlantic is not as straightforward as it used to be. It used to be where, well, we know what 3 teams are making the postseason, and that's Toronto, Boston, and Tampa, and nobody else. Now, maybe not. Maybe we might actually see something from Buffalo and Florida, and maybe Montreal shows up and says, hey, guys, remember what we did in the playoffs? Now we're going to do it for the rest of the season. So, with that, we thank you all for joining us. We thank you for everybody who put up with us for almost 3 hours. You guys are champions, and we very much appreciate you guys. And
those guys are used to it because it was Tuesday nights with the girls on After Dark and the fixing the PM. Those guys tend to run a little later too, so they know how to hang.
But I will say this: only we could talk nearly 3 hours about hockey during the off season. We've proven it time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. So, thank you for everybody who commented in. Thank you, fam. Thank you, DB. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Priz. Thank you, Bryce. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody. Everybody who chimed in today. Thank you so much. And if you just watched and didn't chime in, thank you as well. We appreciate you guys. You are the lifeblood of A2D Radio. And if you want to continue to support A2DRadio.com, as well as the Hockey Happy Hour and all the other great shows that we have, where can they go to, Brian?
I actually got 2 for you tonight. So you're going to head over to PhillyDrinkers.com, Philly Drinkers LLC, get all your A2D gear there. Happy. Ooh, Hockey Happy Hour shirts, show stickers, all kinds of great stuff, hoodies, hats. The fall line's out. You can get a real nice fleece pullover. I have that. And I tell you what, now is the perfect time to wear it. And it is really, really warm and really, really soft. I highly recommend that. Also, head on over to All Campus, get any sports memorabilia there. Lots of hats there. So head over to All Campus. They have a shop on the boardwalk in Ocean City. So you can head over there as well. That's All Campus. And then get all your A2D gear at Philly Drinkers LLC, PhillyDrinkers.com, baby.
Yeah, absolutely, man. They got great stuff there. And also, we are brought to you by Ambuck Services as the winter months have officially come in, may not be the time to do it now, but we will eventually come around to spring, and when we do, might not be a bad time to get some of the yard work taken care of, because if it snows, it snows. If things are just falling all over the place, leaves and shit like that, you want to make your lawn look nice again, don't you? You want to trim the bushes, you want to get the gutters cleaned and all that. You can do that. All you got to do is go to Ambuck Services, and you can call them at 856-879-5530. Those guys will make everything look pretty for you. All you got to do is pull out the lawnmower. They even restore your deck. So if you want to get your deck all nice and repaired and nice and finished up, they'll take care of that for you as well, and that's Ambuck Services. All right. So, gentlemen, fun stuff tonight. Next week, we will finish up, maybe. We might finish up with the Metropolitan Division. We may stash that off to the side since that happens to contain a team that's near and dear to us. So we might stash that for a moment. But
Maybe.
Either way, maybe. But either way, though,
you don't know what divisions are going to pan out for this upcoming season. So that's why we have to be a bit vague at this juncture.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but until whatever we do,
covered all the other ones, and they're going to change as well.
We'll have to start it all over, baby.
Yeah. It's like that moment that you write the script and like, oh, we're changing a few things. Like, God damn it. You can't just walk away.
Yes.
All right.
Over again.
Thank you, guys. And we'll see you next week right here on A2DRA.com, everyone. Stay safe. Stay healthy, everybody. When you go outdoors and you're going into stores and restaurants, please wear your mask. Vaccine is on its way. Give it some time. Be patient. It's almost over. We got it. We'll get through it. So, till then, guys, stay safe. Stay healthy. We'll see you guys next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Peace, everyone.